Welcome to part 20 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. The disappearance of Dale Dinwiddie. On September 23, 1992, Dale Dinwiddie, a 23-year-old art history graduate, attended a U2 concert with friends in Columbia, South Carolina. The group later went to Jungle Jim's, a popular nightclub in the Five Points area. It was here, in the early hours of September 24th, that Dale was last seen. Approximately at 1:30 a.m., she separated from her friends, who assumed she had secured a ride home. According to later investigations, the last individual who spoke with her was a bouncer at the nightclub. She is reported to have left the club alone, without her purse. Her disappearance was noted the following morning when her father discovered her unoccupied room, leading to a missing person report filed at 8:30 a.m. Dale Dinwiddie was described as a cautious individual, wary of being out alone, so alarm bells were immediately set off by this uncharacteristic event. Importantly, she suffered from severe asthma and allergies, conditions requiring regular treatment, and she may not have had her inhaler with her. The case, treated as a kidnapping due to its atypical nature for Dale, led to extensive investigations but yielded few leads. One name that surfaced during the investigations was Reynaldo Javier Ray Rivera, a University of South Carolina student at the time, who later admitted to the slayings of 4 women in Georgia. Despite his criminal background and proximity to the case's location, there has been no concrete evidence linking him to Dale's disappearance, and he has not admitted to any involvement. To this day, Rivera's connection remains entirely speculative, with authorities unable to definitively link him to the case. Further, Rivera admitted to the slayings of 4 women, so if he was involved, I suspect he would have at least held out some evidence to the authorities that he may be. No body or any further trace of Dale have ever been found. Further, unlike some other missing persons cases we have discussed in this series, there have been no reported sightings of Dale since. The Columbia, South Carolina Police Department continues to treat this as an open and active case. If you have any information with respect to Dale's disappearance, please reach out to the authorities. The Kungu Cult Massacre, Africa's Jonestown. The Kungu Cult Massacre, one of the most devastating mass slayings in history, occurred in southwestern Uganda in 2000. Over 700 followers of the movement for the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God perished due to the actions potentially orchestrated by the cult's leaders. This tragic event unfolded against the backdrop of extreme religious fervor, manipulated by a group that diverged from conventional Christian teachings to enforce a doomsday ideology. The movement for the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God was formed in the late 1980s by Joseph Kibwetere and Credonia Mwerinde. They claimed to have visions of the Virgin Mary, instructing them to lead people towards strict adherence to the 10 Commandments in preparation for the world's end. The movement, which discouraged speaking to avoid sin, grew rapidly, attracting many seeking spiritual salvation. The leaders took advantage of their followers' devotion, urging them to sell their possessions and hand over the proceeds, under the pretense of preparing for the apocalypse. As the predicted apocalypse of January 1st, 2000 came and went without incident, disillusionment set in among the followers. Yeah, you heard that right. The world didn't end, so they were pretty bummed out about the whole thing. The leaders then declared March 17th, 2000 as the new date for the world's end. On that day, members gathered in the cult's church in Kungu, where they were locked inside and the building set on fire, resulting in the deaths of 530 people. This horrific act was preceded by a feigned celebration, misleading the followers into a sense of communal joy before their ultimate demise. The aftermath of the fire led to the discovery of mass graves across southern Uganda, revealing the extent of the leader's deceit and cruelty. Police investigations uncovered that many of the dead had been poisoned or stabbed weeks before the church incident. Despite extensive investigations, the main cult leaders were never found, leaving a lingering shadow over the tragic events. So yeah, Jonestown occurred again in Africa in 2000, and you've never heard about it until now. Which begs the question, how many other Jonestown-level slayings are there out there? Unfortunately, as of March 2024, the leaders of the cult are still on the lam, and no charges have ever been filed in relation to this horrific mass slaying. The Akarokamui. The Akarokamui is a fascinating and mysterious cryptid, stemming from Ainu folklore, native to Japan, particularly associated with Funka Bay in Hokkaido. This legendary creature is often described as an enormous, octopus-like being, with some accounts likening it to a half-woman, half-octopus entity. According to folklore, the Akarokamui can reach astonishing lengths of up to 390 feet, making it amongst the largest cryptids. Its coloration is said to be a vibrant red, often compared to the reflection of a setting sun on the water, which contributes to its striking appearance. The name Akarokamui reflects its roots in Ainu culture. Kamui, in Ainu language, signifies a spiritual or divine being, adding a layer of reverence and spiritual significance to the creature. This sea monster is not just a figure of fear, but also one of reverence, embodying aspects of the natural and spiritual world in Ainu belief systems. The lore surrounding the Akarokamui is rich and varies slightly between sources, with some describing it as a vengeful, destructive force, while others regard it as a deity of healing and protection. The history of sightings and accounts of the Akarokamui stretches back centuries, with the most notable documented encounters dating from the 19th century. English missionary John Batchelor recorded one such encounter in his writings, detailing a terrifying confrontation between local fishermen and the monstrous sea creature. These accounts add a layer of tangible history to the Akarokamui, bridging the gap between legend and potential reality. Despite its fearsome reputation, there are those who believe that the Akarokamui has healing powers, a belief that integrates the creature into Shinto practices and beliefs. Offerings and prayers to the Akarokamui are thought to heal physical ailments and injuries, showcasing the creature's dual nature as both a destroyer and a healer. Like the Kraken, there's an obvious real-world explanation for this cryptid, or at least the non-spiritual elements of it. Giant squids are well-documented elusive animals, which are known for their impressive size and deep-sea habitat. They can grow up to 43 feet long, making them one of the largest creatures in the ocean. Their large size and elusive nature contribute to the mystery surrounding them, much like this cryptid. The size of the giant squid, although significant, is smaller than the lengths reported in some Akarokamui legends, which describe the creature as reaching up to 390 feet. However, the giant squid's substantial dimensions and mysterious deep-sea life could have contributed to the creation of sea monster tales. Their reddish-brown color, consistent with the color reported for this cryptid, and enormous eyes, up to 10 inches in diameter, could add to their monstrous appearance in murky underwater conditions. This could have led to exaggerated reports by mariners and fishermen, contributing to the folklore of this cryptid. Also, it's important that once the legend has become established, an element of mass hysteria has the potential to take root. If a fisherman is primed to expect to see a 390-foot octopus-like creature, and a 40-foot squid shows up, with part of its body submerged in the depths, this easily becomes an Akarokamui. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. My goal is to create the most expansive Iceberg series in YouTube history, and I want you all along for the ride, so hit that subscription button. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership, joining the Patreon, and joining the Discord. Who is Mr. Fantastic? This is a suggestion by community member Z-Volts. Huge thanks for this one, especially since I never would have discovered this on my own. Also, remember to join the Discord community or leave a comment here if you have anything you want profiled in this series. Remember, this series covers a very wide range of topics under the Unsolved Mysteries umbrella, so feel free to contribute any mystery from mathematics, to science, to music, to true crime. In the vast universe of hip-hop, few enigmas have sparked as much debate and fascination as the identity of Mr. Fantastic, the elusive collaborator of the iconic rapper MF Doom. Despite extensive speculation and investigation, the true identity of Mr. Fantastic remains one of the hip-hop industry's most tantalizing unsolved mysteries. But before we get into Mr. Fantastic, it's necessary to give a brief overview of the career of MF Doom. MF Doom, born Daniel Dumail, was a British-American rapper and record producer who became a major figure in underground and alternative hip-hop. Known for his intricate and mysterious wordplay and a villainous stage persona, Dumail started his career with the underground hip-hop group known as KMD. His unique approach to music, often incorporating unconventional samples and cryptic lyrics, garnered a dedicated following. And when I say unconventional samples, I've heard him seamlessly integrate old Saturday morning cartoons into his songs. He continued to be a major player in the hip-hop scene until his untimely death in 2020 from an adverse reaction to a blood pressure medication. Mr. Fantastic burst into the limelight through his collaboration with MF Doom on 2 tracks, Antimatter and Rap Snitch Knishes. These appearances, though minimal, left an indelible mark on the landscape of hip-hop. What makes Mr. Fantastic's identity so intriguing is not just the scarcity of his musical contributions, but the quality and impact of those contributions. Various theories have circulated regarding Mr. Fantastic's real identity, including a various cast of popular underground hip-hop artists. And I'm not exaggerating when I say there's dozens of underground artists who have been proposed. Interestingly, a variety of mainstream rappers have also been suggested as the source of the Mr. Fantastic persona. The most interesting of these suggestions include Jay-Z, 50 Cent, and U-God from the Wu-Tang Clan. But how could Mr. Fantastic be someone with a recognized voice? Well, the theory is Mr. Fantastic's voice has been pitch adjusted substantially to make him sound like someone else. Another theory is that Mr. Fantastic is yet another identity of MF Doom himself, with his voice and style being significantly altered to play this character. In favor of this theory is the fact that MF Doom was known to adopt personas routinely, and he's mainly known for the MF Doom character, which is itself a persona. Further in favor of this theory, MF Doom preferred to maintain an aura of mystery and enigma around virtually everything, which is just one thing that made him stand out as an artist. Another theory suggests that Mr. Fantastic was simply, quote, some guy from the streets, known as Pure Mathematics, who grew up with Doom in his family. This theory comes out of the MF Doom subreddit, and like anything from Reddit, is obviously 100% factual. This theory aligns with the idea that Mr. Fantastic was not a high-profile artist, but rather a talented individual from Doom's personal circle who never pursued a significant career in music. Despite the appeal of this theory, it leaves many questions unanswered, such as why Mr. Fantastic, with his evident skill, chose not to record more extensively. Personally, I would discount this theory on the basis that Mr. Fantastic is too skilled to have recorded 2 songs only. Anyway, let me know in the comments who you think Mr. Fantastic might be. The Akaname. The Akaname, a creature stemming from Japanese folklore, is recognized chiefly for its unique habit, licking filth and grime from unkempt bathrooms and derelict buildings. This yokai, which translates literally to filth licker, is depicted traditionally as a red-skinned, impish entity. It has a long, protruding tongue, dedicated to cleaning away dirt and dust, supposedly with poisonous saliva. Often depicted as a deterrent for poor hygiene, particularly among children, this creature carries an underlying message, promoting cleanliness and sanitation. It's capable of fitting in one's hand, with greasy hair, webbed limbs, and a particularly long, sticky tongue used for its unique diet of muck and grime. This creature's preference for inhabiting filthy areas like dirty restrooms or abandoned homes turns it into a peculiar custodian of cleanliness, ironically signifying neglect and the dire need for hygiene in its chosen environments. Despite its unsettling appearance and habits, the Akaname is not typically seen as dangerous, but rather as an eerie reminder of the importance of not letting things get dirty. Historically, the Akaname's origin might tie back to superstitions surrounding the public bathhouses of ancient Japan, where poor hygiene could lead to disease outbreaks. This yokai appears in literature as early as the Edo period, indicating its long-standing place in Japanese folklore. In modern times, while actual sightings of Akaname are not documented, their legacy persists in popular culture. They serve as quaint, though grotesque reminders for children to stay clean. The Philadelphia Experiment. The Philadelphia Experiment is an event said to have taken place in 1943 at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. It allegedly involved the USS Eldridge, a cannon-class destroyer escort, which was purported to have been rendered invisible to the naked eye as part of an experiment involving electromagnetic fields. The tale was popularized through a series of letters from a man named Carl Allen to astronomer Morris K. Jessup. Further, the legend has been spread through subsequent books and a movie that dramatized the events. The tale was later expanded to include elements of teleportation as well as invisibility. According to Allen's account, the experiment was a demonstration of Einstein's unproven unified field theory, claiming that the ship teleported from Philadelphia to Norfolk, Virginia. The ship was then transported back to Philadelphia, leaving the crew affected in disturbing ways. Some reports included sailors becoming mentally unstable, suffering from severe nausea, or even being fused with the ship's structure. However, these accounts lack corroboration and are dismissed by many as fantastical or outright fabrications. The origin of the story can be traced back to Jessup's correspondence with Allen in the mid-1950s, following the publication of Jessup's book on UFO propulsion. The tale took on a life of its own when an annotated version of Jessup's book, purportedly containing comments by extraterrestrial beings, was sent to the Office of Naval Research, which inadvertently helped to spread the story further. Despite this, the annotated book, known as the Varro edition, failed to provide concrete evidence supporting the experiment's occurrence. Critics and skeptics have pointed out numerous inconsistencies and the lack of physical evidence supporting the story. Records indicate that the USS Eldridge was not in Philadelphia at the time the experiment supposedly occurred. Some plausible theories for the basic version of the story include real degaussing experiments, which were conducted by the U.S. Navy. These experiments theoretically made the ships invisible to magnetic anti-ship weaponry used by the Axis forces. Further investigation into Carl Allen, the man behind the claim, indicates that he was a career charlatan who was known for spinning intricate stories. Further, I suspect that had this been a real event, there would have been a number of deathbed confessions surrounding it by now. After all, these men didn't willingly take part in the experiment and were apparently subject to horrific results from it. Let me quote Jonathan Frakes on this one. "It's false. No way. We made this one up. This one was thought up in a writer's room. It didn't happen. It's fake." Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus, often imagined as a massive, gorilla-like ape, is a real presumed extinct ape thought by some to be the ancestor of Bigfoot, or an explanation for Bigfoot itself. In reality, Gigantopithecus closely resembled the orangutan. Weighing an estimated 650 pounds, this creature's size remains speculative due to the limited remains found. Its extinction around 300,000 years ago is attributed to habitat loss from climate change and possibly early human activity. The first discovery of Gigantopithecus was made by anthropologist Ralph von Koenigswald in 1935, who found 2 large molar teeth in a Hong Kong drugstore. They were sold as dragon bones for traditional medicine. These findings sparked a series of discoveries across southern China, including the northernmost sites just south of the Yangtze River and the southernmost on Hainan Island. These remains, primarily teeth, date from 2 million years ago to as recent as 300,000 years ago. Gigantopithecus is considered a sister genus of Pongo, the genus containing the modern orangutans. In modern times, Gigantopithecus has captured the imagination of many in cryptozoology, leading to speculations that it could be the real identity behind the Bigfoot family of cryptids. The Gigantopithecus is commonly linked to Bigfoot due to its massive size and ape features, making it a plausible real-world counterpart to the mythical creature. Further, since details of the Gigantopithecus are not fully known, this allows cryptozoologists to fill in details about the creature. While it may be entertaining to think of a relict population of the Gigantopithecus being responsible for Bigfoot sightings, the idea of their survival is so implausible as to be effectively impossible. The Disappearance of Tom Messick. This case was recommended by community member Crazy Diamond. Big shout out to you for this great suggestion. On November 15, 2015, Tom Messick Sr., an 82-year-old experienced hunter, vanished in the dense wilderness of the Lake George Wild Forest near Brant Lake, New York. Tom vanished during a deer hunting trip with friends and family. Despite extensive search efforts, no trace of him has ever been found. Tom was last seen at 10 a.m. on November 15, 2015 by his hunting group and was positioned as a watcher on the lookout for deer. The group planned to reconvene at 2 p.m. at a designated location, but Messick never appeared. His attire included camouflage print jacket and pants, heavy-duty boots, gloves, and a distinctive red and black checkered hat. That is to say, he was appropriately attired for the occasion. At the time of his disappearance, he was also carrying a walkie-talkie and a rifle. It's noted that Tom had medical conditions affecting his hearing, vision, and mobility. The search commenced the following day with over 10 trained search and rescue professionals and expanded over several weeks, involving over 300 professionals and volunteers, dogs, divers, and helicopters. The operation covered more than 4 square miles directly and much more by air, yet failed to yield any signs of Messick or his equipment. The weather was challenging, with heavy rain impeding the efforts, but dogs were deployed ahead of the worst weather. Despite this, the dogs were unable to get any track on his scent. Notably, the search area was dense with caves, crevices, and hazardous terrain, intensifying the difficulty of the operation. The extensive involvement of various agencies, including the FBI, was unusual, raising questions about the nature of Messick's disappearance. The FBI publicly advised that they were looking into the case as potentially involving foul play. The case remains shrouded in mystery. There are various theories, but no concrete evidence to support any particular scenario. The area's rugged terrain and Messick's age and physical condition suggest he may not have gone far, yet the lack of any clues is perplexing. His family speculated that he might have had a medical issue or gotten lost and settled behind an obstacle, becoming impossible to find. The presence of caves and crevices in the area provides potential places where Messick could have fallen or become hidden unintentionally. Over the years, online sleuths have come up with various theories, including the involvement of cryptids and aliens. Unsurprisingly, no evidence has ever been found to support either the cryptid or the alien theory. In my view, given his substantial experience in the woods and health issues, a plausible scenario could involve a sudden medical condition rendering him incapacitated and unable to signal for help. To me, it seems like someone like Tom would have known exactly what to do, unless he was completely incapacitated. While it's clear that there's nothing to specifically rule out foul play, from my research at least, what is clear is that there's nothing to actually suggest foul play in the first place. That said, the FBI were involved for somewhat unclear reasons, suggesting that there may be much more to the case than has been let on by the authorities. That said, this remains entirely speculative. The state police continue to work on the case, treating it as an active investigation. If you have any information with respect to the disappearance of Tom Messick, please reach out to the New York State Police. The Hibagon. The Hibagon, Japan's elusive Bigfoot relative, has been sighted since the early 1970s around Mount Hiba in Hiroshima Prefecture. Unlike Bigfoot's widespread sightings across North America, the Hibagon's appearances were concentrated over a brief period, predominantly between 1970 and 1982. The creature is described as ape-like, standing around 7 feet, covered in bristly fur, and sometimes reported to possess a face resembling burnt wood. One of the most famous encounters occurred in 1974. In this encounter, a motorist captured a photograph of the Hibagon, which, despite its poor quality, became a significant piece of evidence for its existence. The picture you're looking at right now is allegedly the Hibagon. That said, the creature was described as moving in athletic leaps and displaying behaviors uncharacteristic of known wildlife in the region. The Hibagon shares similarities with North America's Bigfoot, including descriptions of a large, hairy, bipedal creature. However, the Hibagon sightings are unique to the Hiroshima area and lack the widespread and continuous reports characteristic of Bigfoot sightings. Theories about the Hibagon range from an unknown hominid or ape, possibly a relic from when Japan was connected to the Asian mainland, to the absolutely wild. For instance, some believed it to be a Japanese soldier holdout from World War II, donning an ape costume and raiding the locals. Despite extensive interest and investigation, including efforts by the University of Kobe, the mystery of the Hibagon remains unsolved, with no confirmed sightings since the early 1980s. Given that the Hibagon was only seen for a well-defined period of time, I would suggest that there is the possibility that it was an escaped ape of some sort. In the alternative, it might have been a mass hysteria type event, where people were primed to see Japanese black bears as Hibagon, the Stone Man. From 1985 to 1989, India was afflicted by an unknown serial slayer with a unique modus operandi. The Slayings started in Mumbai in 1985, when the authorities noted that several sleeping homeless people had been ended in the same cruel way. While they were sleeping, the Stone Man would crush their heads with a stone weighing as much as 65 pounds. In the middle of 1988, the slayings suddenly came to a stop in Mumbai. 13 people in Mumbai were ended in this cruel and cowardly fashion. However, the next year, in the summer of 1989, the slayings resumed in Calcutta, on the opposite side of the country, Again, another 13 people were ended before the killings ceased. There is no clear link between the Stone Man in Mumbai and the Stone Man in Calcutta. However, the timelines add up, and 13 victims were claimed in both cities. Also, can we agree that serial slayers should stop being given interesting titles like the Stone Man? Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Remember to hit the playlist to see dozens of hours of Unsolved Mysteries content. As always, huge thanks to all my YouTube members and patrons. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Kazakh Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, and Jeffer Metcalf. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone. Welcome to part 21 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. The disappearance of Kayana Turner. This is a recommendation from community member Scarlett Weaver. Thanks for bringing Kayana's case to my attention. This one seems like it could have a positive resolution. In the early hours of March 10, 2023, the community of Tomball, Texas was shaken by the disappearance of Kayana Turner, a 28-year-old woman. The circumstances surrounding Kayana's disappearance are as puzzling as they are distressing. Kayana had recently undergone a change in her PTSD medication, which her family speculates could have led to a manic episode, explaining her unusual behavior. On the day she vanished, Kayana reportedly drove towards deputies while attempting to flee them. She sped off through pasture land and destroyed fences. After she crashed her vehicle, she exited it barefoot, leaving behind her phone, purse, and other personal belongings. She then fled on foot into the woods. It is believed she crossed Spring Creek into Montgomery County, Texas on foot. Unfortunately, despite suffering a mental health crisis, she was initially listed as a fugitive due to felony warrants issued for evading in a motor vehicle and aggravated assault on a police officer. Once the situation was rectified, Kayana was later placed on Harris County's official missing person list on March 24, 2023. It appears that she is still facing the felony charges. However, the authorities are now aware of the reason she took her actions. Given the circumstances, I suspect that Kayana has decided to lay low and is living with friends, or is perhaps living on the street. It's also possible that she fled Texas entirely and is now living in another state. At any rate, I believe this case has a high probability of a positive outcome, with Kayana returning home safely. At present, if you have any information with respect to this case, please reach out to the Harris County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers of Houston, Texas. The 1991 Austin yogurt shop Slayings. This intriguing and horrific case was recommended by YouTube member Infinite Lemniscata. On December 6, 1991, a devastating event shook Austin, Texas. The local "I Can't Believe It's Yogurt" shop became the scene of a horrendous incident, where 4 teenage girls, Eliza Thomas, Jennifer Harbison, Sarah Harbison, and Amy Ayers, were found in tragic circumstances following a reported fire. The authorities discovered the victims had been bound, with signs indicating they had been subjected to unspeakable acts. Eyewitnesses reported 2 suspicious-looking men in the shop prior to the store closing. Initial suspicion fell on 4 local teenagers: Maurice Pierce, Forrest Wellborn, Michael Scott, and Robert Springsteen. Subsequent confessions from Scott and Springsteen led to their convictions. However, these were later overturned due to procedural violations. Moreover, advanced DNA testing brought additional twists, revealing profiles that did not match any of the accused. In an unusual twist, Maurice Pierce, one of the initial suspects, was killed in an altercation with police in 2010. At first glance, you might think there is a conspiracy angle here. However, Pierce was slain by police in response to his stabbing an officer in the neck with a knife. Talk about nominative determinism, right? Theories around the case have proliferated over the years, with over 1,000 individuals considered as potential suspects. Among them was Kenneth McDuff, a known serial killer in the area at the time. However, he was quickly ruled out due to a lack of substantial evidence connecting him to the event. Further, this case saw a significant number of false confessions, with Austin police advising that they have received upwards of 50 reported confessions to the slayings. If you have any information with respect to this heinous act, please contact the Austin Police Department with details. The slaying of Dana Bradley. This case was recommended by Discord community member Marsh. Remember, the LCZ Discord server is a great place to connect with other members of the community and make suggestions. Click the link in the video description to join. Dana Bradley, a 14-year-old from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada, disappeared on December 14, 1981, while hitchhiking on Topsail Road in St. John's. After visiting a friend, she was on her way home for a family birthday party but never arrived. A witness reported seeing her getting into a car with a male driver who had presumably picked her up in the course of her hitchhiking. Her body was discovered 4 days later in a wooded area on Maddox Cove Road, south of the city. She had suffered blunt force trauma and other injuries, and her body was laid out with her school books tucked under her arm. The investigation into her case became one of the most exhaustive in Canadian history. Early on, more than 800 cars were examined, and the case saw a mix of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, and the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, involving 35 full-time investigators. Despite extensive efforts, including a false confession in 1986 by David Grant Somerton, which was later recanted, it has remained unsolved. In May 2016, the case saw renewed interest with the excavation of 2 vehicles believed connected to Bradley's case, based on the testimony of an alleged eyewitness. No conclusive evidence was found due to the vehicle's condition and contamination. Simultaneously, new DNA evidence emerged that pointed to an unknown male but did not lead to a resolution. However, in a small break in the case, this DNA evidence was significant enough to clear some suspects previously linked to the case. 40 years after Bradley's disappearance, there is still hope that new technology, particularly advancements in DNA science, might finally lead to solving the case. An ancestry company, GEDmatch, which specializes in cold cases, offered their services, emphasizing the potential of genetic genealogy in resolving such long-standing mysteries. Notably, a number of long-standing cold cases have been resolved using this methodology. As of 2024, genetic genealogy has provided a link to a new, completely unknown person. I hope to have a positive development in this mystery at some point in the future. Dana's family deserves the closure, and the killer needs to be brought to justice. If you have any information regarding this case, please contact the RCMP or Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. Steller's sea ape. Steller's sea ape, a cryptid reportedly observed by the renowned German zoologist Georg Steller in 1741, remains a curious figure in the realm of cryptozoology. The creature was sighted near the Shumagon Islands in Alaska, displaying unique physical and behavioral characteristics. Steller described it as approximately 1.8 meters long, with a dog-like head, pointed ears, large eyes, and distinctive whiskers. Its body was described as long and rotund, tapering towards the tail, with a thick fur coat that was gray on the back and reddish-white on the belly. Interestingly, Steller did not observe any forelimbs or pectoral fins on the creature, and it possessed a tail with 2 fins, the upper fin being double the size of the lower, akin to a shark's tail fins. The sea ape exhibited playful and curious behavior. Steller recounted an instance where the animal interacted with a large seaweed stalk, displaying what he described as juggling tricks, much like a trained monkey. However, when Steller attempted to capture the creature by firing at it, he missed, and the creature disappeared, only to return briefly before disappearing again. This would be the last time the sea ape was seen by Steller. Interestingly, there was another alleged sighting in June 1965 by sailor Miles Smeaton, along with his daughter and a friend near the northern coast of Atka Island. They described a creature matching Steller's description in size, fur color, and facial features, noting the encounter lasted for about 10 to 15 seconds. Smeaton's account closely matched Steller's observations. However, the veracity of Steller's sea ape's existence has been a subject of debate. Critics argue that the circumstances of Steller's northern expedition, characterized by isolation, disease, and desperation, could have influenced Steller's perception. This could have led him to misidentify known animals such as fur seals or otters as something more fantastical. Some theorize that the physical and behavioral traits described could match those of the northern fur seal, especially considering the playful nature and physical features. Notably, Steller made his account before he had ever encountered a fur seal, which may explain the misidentification. Also, as an aside, the sea ape title is thought to be more indicative of the creature's behavior rather than its physical resemblance to a primate. Over the years, various theories have surfaced attempting to explain the creature's origins, including misidentifications of known species, or perhaps an undiscovered animal. However, no conclusive evidence has been presented to confirm the existence of Steller's sea ape. The possibility that Steller's sea ape represents a rare, now extinct seal species has gained traction among scholars. Steller, a credible naturalist, might have encountered an undocumented species exhibiting unique traits. Further, Steller identified many real established species, such as the now extinct Steller's sea cow, the Paraquat Slayings. In 1985, Japan experienced a harrowing series of indiscriminate poisonings that shocked the nation and remains unsolved. The events unfolded primarily around vending machines across western and central Japan, where unsuspecting individuals purchased beverages laced with a deadly herbicide, paraquat dichloride. The substance is extremely toxic and can lead to severe or fatal health complications within hours to days of ingestion. The first incident was recorded on April 30th, when a 45-year-old truck driver in Fukuyama, Hiroshima, consumed a vitamin-enriched drink, Oronamin C, that was left atop a vending machine. He became extremely ill, and as a result succumbed to the poisoning by May 30th, 1985. This marked the beginning of a series of tragic events that would lead to at least 12 fatalities and 35 severe poisonings. The drinks involved in these incidents were primarily Oronamin C and Real Gold, drinks that were popular at the time. The poisonings seemed to exploit a promotional strategy by Otsuka Pharmaceutical, the manufacturer of Oronamin C, which involved a buy one, get one deal. This led consumers to think they had stumbled upon an unpaid promotional item when they found these laced beverages. The victims ranged in age and background, and there was no apparent connection between them, adding to the mystery and randomness of the attacks. The incidents led to widespread fear and confusion, with a 17-year-old girl from Saitama being one of the last known victims before the incidents mysteriously ceased. The response from authorities and companies was multifaceted. Warning labels and leaflets were posted around vending machines across Japan. Further, the National Police Agency initiated a nationwide campaign to educate the public on how to inspect beverages from vending machines. Despite these efforts, the investigation reached a dead end with no significant leads, evidence, or motive uncovered, leaving the case unsolved to this day. The aftermath of these incidents saw a change in public behavior and a re-evaluation of product safety and consumer trust. Nearly 4 decades have passed since the incidents, and the statute of limitations for such acts was abolished in Japan in 2010. However, the law does not apply retroactively, and as such, the person or persons responsible for this act are free to confess to this crime today, with no consequences. The Paraquat incidents remain one of the most disturbing and baffling chapters in Japanese criminal history. My theory is that the incident may have been a disturbing attempt at extortion. Considering the nature of the crimes, where beverages were tampered with and left in public spaces, one might consider the possibility of an intended extortion scheme gone awry. In typical product tampering cases aiming for extortion, the perpetrator usually threatens to harm the public or continue their actions unless a ransom is paid. If you're a longtime follower of this series, you'll remember that in episode 3 I covered the Monster with 21 Faces case, which covered similar circumstances also in Japan. However, in this case, no public demands or threats were made known, which diverges from the conventional extortion template. It's plausible to speculate that the initial intention could have been to create a climate of fear, subsequently leading to an extortion attempt that never materialized. This theory is supported by the random and widespread nature of the incidents, which would be effective in garnering significant public attention and panic, setting the stage for a high-stakes extortion demand. The lack of evidence makes the extortion theory difficult to substantiate, and as the investigations yielded no suspects, this really is speculative. However, it's theoretically possible that extortion money was paid behind the scenes, explaining the sudden stop in the poisonings. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. My goal is to create the most expansive Iceberg series in YouTube history, but I need your subscription to do it. Remember to consider signing up for a YouTube membership, joining the Patreon, and joining the Discord. In particular, YouTube memberships and Patreon support allows for me to create videos which risk demonetization. The U-530 mystery. The mysterious surrender of U-530, a German submarine, remains one of the enduring puzzles of World War II's aftermath. Commissioned in October 1942 and manned by 48 crew members, U-530 was involved in several patrols, sinking 2 ships and damaging another during its wartime service. Its journey ended not in the immediate aftermath of Germany's surrender, but in a delayed, secretive arrival at Mar del Plata, Argentina, on July 10, 1945. Throughout the war, U-boats were critical to Germany's naval strategy, particularly during the Battle of the Atlantic. U-boats, not specified or blocked under the Treaty of Versailles restrictions, thus became a significant tool against Allied forces. They were infamous for their stealth and deadly efficiency, carrying torpedoes and deck guns for surface engagements. By the war's end, they had sunk numerous Allied vessels, contributing significantly to the wartime maritime peril. U-530's 7th and final patrol took it dangerously close to New York, aiming for Allied convoys without success. As the war concluded, Admiral Karl Donitz ordered all U-boats to surrender effective immediately. However, U-530 did not comply immediately with these orders. Instead, it set a course for Argentina, discarding its torpedoes, deck guns, documents, and ship's log en route, actions shrouded in secrecy and prompting speculation. The crew arrived with no personal identification, deepening the mystery surrounding their mission and the delay in their surrender. Upon reaching Argentina, U-530's unexpected appearance ignited a flurry of rumors and conspiracy theories. These theories range from clandestine operations to the ferrying of high-ranking Nazi officials or treasure to South America. Despite extensive investigations and speculation, no concrete evidence has substantiated these theories. The submarine and its crew's motives for the unusual surrender remain a topic of debate and inquiry. Following its surrender, U-530's crew was interned and eventually repatriated, while the submarine itself was later used for target practice and sunk. The context of U-530's surrender is further compounded by the presence of another U-boat, U-977, which surrendered a month later, also in Argentina. This added to the speculation regarding the late surrenders, suggesting a coordinated effort or mission among these U-boats beyond mere escape from potential Allied retribution. Despite numerous investigations and the passage of time, the reasons behind U-530's actions and its delayed surrender remain unresolved. One popular theory ties U-530 into conspiracies surrounding New Swabia. The connection between U-530 and New Swabia, a territory claimed by Germany in Antarctica, originates from speculative theories rather than documented historical facts. There are theories that suggest U-530 was involved in transporting leaders or treasures to an Antarctic base. Alternative theories go even further and suggest that German UFOs were moved by this submarine to Antarctica, which were then transported into the hollow core of Earth. When did the dodo go extinct? The dodo, an extinct species of flightless bird, was native to Mauritius, an island in the Indian Ocean. This bird, larger than a turkey and weighing over 40 pounds, had blue-gray feathers, a large head and beak, and small wings of questionable value. The absence of natural predators on Mauritius led to the dodo's inability to fly, with adaptations making them ground-nesting birds. However, this lack of fear towards predators would contribute to their downfall following human arrival. The common portrayal of the dodo as fat, slow, and clumsy is debated, with some suggesting this image may have been skewed by explorers' perspectives. It's hypothesized that the birds were not inherently overweight and sluggish, but may have appeared so due to being overfed or misinterpreted by the sailors and settlers who documented them. The dodo's initial discovery by European explorers is dated back to around 1598, with the Dutch East India Company's sailors being among the first to document these creatures. The island's isolation had kept the dodo shielded from human contact until then, leading to a lack of fear towards humans and making them easy prey. This fearlessness, combined with the inability to fly, made dodos easy targets for sailors and the animals they introduced, such as feral pigs, dogs, and rats. These invasive species competed with dodos for food, destroyed their nests, and consumed their eggs, significantly contributing to their decline. The exact date of the dodo's extinction is debated among scholars. The last widely recognized sighting of a live dodo was in 1662, yet there are records indicating possible later sightings. Nonetheless, the consensus remains that the dodo became extinct in the late 17th century, less than a century after its discovery by Europeans. The exact reason for their decline is unknown, given poor record-keeping at the time. However, this rapid decline is generally attributed to a combination of a number of factors. These factors include direct hunting by humans, habitat destruction, and the introduction of non-native species that preyed on dodos and their offspring. Notably, recent studies have suggested that the dodo could have persisted into the 18th century, potentially making the dodo much more resilient than previously thought. The Grassman. The Ohio Grassman, also known as the Eastern Bigfoot, is a creature that has intrigued Ohioans and cryptid enthusiasts for over 150 years. First reported in 1869, the Grassman is described as a large, hairy, bipedal entity standing up to 9 feet tall. Unlike the solitary Bigfoot, the Grassman is noted for its social behaviors, often seen in groups, and even mothers with their young have been reported. This cryptid distinguishes itself from other hominid-type cryptids through its diet, primarily consuming tall grasses like wheat, which are abundant in Ohio's farmland. One of the most notable encounters occurred in 1978 with the Clayton family, who reported multiple visits from this creature at their home near a gravel pit. The family described it as a dark-haired being around 7 feet tall and 300 pounds. The creature is alleged to have slain the family German Shepherd, though there's no proof that this occurred. The Grassman is still occasionally reported, however with much less frequency than in the 20th century. Personally, I would imagine that most Grassman sightings are just written off as Bigfoot sightings these days, but perhaps the folklore in Ohio is strong enough to override this. Sannikov Land. Sannikov Land, a phantom island believed to be located in the Arctic Ocean, has intrigued explorers and geographers since the early 19th century. The island's story began when Russian merchant and explorer Yakov Sannikov first reported its existence in 1811 during an expedition to the New Siberian Islands. He described spotting a new land north of Kotelny Island, which led to the naming of Sannikov Land. The allure of Sannikov Land captivated many subsequent explorers, including the Baltic German explorer Eduard von Toll. Toll claimed to have observed the land in 1886 during another expedition to the New Siberian Islands. Despite repeated attempts, including a dramatic 1901 effort that ended with Toll and his team vanishing, the existence of Sannikov Land remained unverified. The island was mapped and included in geographical records up until the first half of the 20th century. However, extensive searches yielded no physical evidence of its existence. Scientists eventually disproved the existence of Sannikov Land, suggesting it could be compared to other imaginary islands which lingered on maps after being disproved. Despite its ultimate categorization as a phantom island, some theorists speculate that Sannikov Land might have been real at some point. According to this theory, it was possibly formed from fossilized ice or permafrost, only to be destroyed by coastal erosion or other natural phenomena. However, this theory, like the island itself, remains speculative and not widely accepted among the scientific community. The Bar Manu. The Bar Manu is an ape cryptid reported to inhabit the mountainous regions of northern Pakistan, including Chitral and the Karakoram ranges. It is reported to be a bipedal humanoid primate, similar to the much more well-known Bigfoot or Yeti. It's said to possess both human and ape-like characteristics, with some accounts suggesting it wears animal skins and has a penchant for abducting women. The creature's habitat, lying between the Pamirs and the Himalayas, places it in proximity to the territories of other Bigfoot cousins like the Almas of Central Asia and the Yeti. The Bar Manu came to broader attention through the work of Spanish zoologist Jordi Magraner, who conducted extensive field research in the area from the late 1980s to the 1990s. His efforts culminated in the collection of numerous accounts of encounters with the creature. His research, however, was tragically cut short by his slaying in Afghanistan in 2002. Comparatively, the Bar Manu and Bigfoot share several key characteristics, including their bipedal stance, reported human-like behaviors, and elusive nature. However, some suggest that the Bar Manu is perhaps a close human cousin, rather than a Bigfoot variant, as there are numerous reports of them kidnapping women. At any rate, given the geopolitical reality of where this creature is sighted, I doubt we will have any significant developments about this cryptid anytime soon. The disappearance of Master Philip. The mission of Master Philip to find Prester John represents a fascinating chapter in the history of medieval explorations, shaped by a blend of myth, religion, and the quest for allies in the Crusades. Prester John, a legendary Christian ruler, purported to rule a vast kingdom in the East, captivated the European imagination with tales of wealth, power, and piety. This enigmatic figure was thought to be a potential ally against the Islamic world, which at the time was seen as a significant threat to Christendom. In 1177, in an effort to reach out to this mysterious Christian monarch, Pope Alexander III dispatched his physician, Master Philip, with a letter addressed to Prester John. This mission was motivated by a combination of spiritual zeal and the strategic need to find an ally against the growing Muslim powers. However, the mission of Master Philip is shrouded in mystery. There are no concrete records detailing his journey or its outcome. It is widely believed that Master Philip never returned, and no direct communication with the legendary Prester John was established. I note that given Prester John's legendary status, it would have been impossible to complete this mission as assigned. I suspect there is a significant chance that Master Philip, given a significant sum of wealth and gifts for expenses on the journey, and as a gift to Prester John, absconded with the wealth or was slain. Given that the journey was long and arduous, as well as nebulous, there would have been little to prevent Master Philip from divvying the booty up amongst his traveling party. In the alternative, given the long and uncertain trip, his traveling party may have simply ended him and split the loot between themselves. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Remember to hit the playlist to see dozens of hours of Unsolved Mysteries content. Huge thanks to all my YouTube members and patrons. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Kazak Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, and Z Volts. Also, big shout out to YouTube member Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone. Welcome to part 22 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. New South Greenland. The story of the Phantom Island of New South Greenland, also known as Morell's Land, begins with American Captain Benjamin Morell's voyages in the early 19th century. Also, just a brief word on Phantom Islands before we begin. Unfortunately, they aren't quite as spooky as they sound. A Phantom Island is a purported island included on maps for a time, but later found to be non-existent. Originating from early sailors' reports, they result from navigational errors, mistaken observations, misinformation, or deliberate fabrication. Common in exploration history, they reflect the challenges and mysteries of maritime navigation and map-making. Morell reported spotting this land during a seal hunting and exploration trip in the Weddell Sea area of Antarctica in March 1823. He provided coordinates and a description of a coastline, assuming he was observing the east coast of the Antarctic Peninsula, previously explored and named New South Greenland by another captain. This area was reportedly rich in seals and appeared to have snow-covered mountains further south. Historically, the Southern Ocean has been riddled with reports of islands that turned out to be non-existent. These misreports have been attributed to various causes, such as navigational errors, bad weather, the consumption of alcohol, or even deliberate hoaxes. In the case of Morell's New South Greenland, the general skepticism stemmed from discrepancies and errors in his voyage accounts, leading to doubts about his credibility. For example, Morell's detailed accounts of his journey were notably similar to those of British explorer James Weddell, suggesting possible plagiarism. Moreover, Morell's estimated positions and descriptions of his journey through supposedly ice-free seas in the Antarctic have been widely questioned by historians. Extensive searches for New South Greenland were conducted, notably by the French explorer Jules Dumont d'Urville in 1838, who found no indication of land where Morell reported his sightings. Similar expeditions were led by Ernest Shackleton, who, among others, also found no evidence of such a land, leading to the conclusion that Morell's sightings were likely of large ice masses, mirages, or simply errors. Further, during the Second German Antarctic Expedition, led by Wilhelm Filchner from 1911 to 1913, no signs of land were found, again debunking the existence of New South Greenland. These findings were supported by subsequent Antarctic explorations and are now accepted as evidence that New South Greenland was indeed a myth. Another theory is that Morell was simply a fairly incompetent navigator, and based on the evidence, I actually prefer this theory. By his own accounts, he brought insufficient nautical instruments to make calculations for his journey, which seems like a questionable move for a sea captain. The Kate Middleton Conspiracy. The story of Kate Middleton's disappearance from public view in 2024 has stirred a significant amount of speculation. Kate was last confirmed to be publicly seen on Christmas Day 2023. This situation began in January 2024 when Kensington Palace announced that Middleton had undergone a planned abdominal surgery at the London clinic. She was expected to remain in the hospital for 10 to 14 days and was unlikely to return to public duties until after Easter. Keep this initial statement in mind as we go through this entry. This announcement sparked public interest as no further details on the nature of the surgery were provided. As time passed without any sightings of Middleton, the internet's rumor mill began to churn. Various theories emerged, ranging from speculations about her physical health to rumors about her marriage and personal life. The situation was exacerbated when Prince William, her husband, withdrew from a royal engagement, citing a, quote, personal matter. This led to increased speculation and the surfacing of numerous questionable conspiracy theories online. The range of conspiracy theories has been both wide and imaginative. From the idea that Kate was in hiding due to a hair coloring mishap, to rumors of her undergoing various types of cosmetic surgery. There are even outlandish suggestions such as her embarking on a mission to the moon or secretly dating a celebrity. And in case you're wondering which celebrity she's been most commonly paired up with, it's Pete Davidson, of course. Overall, there was nothing much out of the ordinary prior to March 2024. She was recovering from surgery and wanted privacy. No big deal, right? But then things got really weird, and the conspiracy theory and mystery surrounding Kate Middleton's whereabouts went from dark corners of the internet to the mainstream. On March 10, 2024, Kensington Palace shared a photograph of Kate Middleton and her 3 children, aiming to present a positive message about her recovery after a period of absence. The photo was captioned with expressions of gratitude and well wishes for Mother's Day, noted to have been taken by Prince William himself. However, shortly after its release, the image became the center of controversy due to suspicions that it had been photoshopped. Major agencies like Associated Press, Associated Foreign Press, Reuters, and Getty subsequently recalled the photograph, citing editorial issues and post-publication reviews. The most detailed claim came from the Associated Press, which suggested upon closer inspection that the image appeared to have been manipulated. This led to a widespread speculation and debate over the authenticity of the photo, particularly pointing out inconsistencies such as the alignment of Princess Charlotte's left sleeve with her hand. All major news outlets have now agreed that the photograph is significantly manipulated. Is this where it stops, though? You bet your boots this rabbit hole goes even deeper. On Monday, March 11th, 2024, Kate Middleton issued an apology through Twitter, where she stated, quote, "Like many amateur photographers, I do occasionally experiment with editing. I wanted to express my apologies for any confusion the family photograph we shared yesterday caused. I hope everyone celebrating had a very happy Mother's Day." Yes, you heard that correctly. Kensington Palace then tried to state that Kate Middleton personally edited the photograph. I find it difficult to believe that people who can't cook, clean, or drive for themselves are suddenly experimenting in Photoshop. Despite the commotion, as of March 15, 2024, the whereabouts of Kate Middleton have not yet been confirmed with certainty. In my view, this is a case where the cover-up is much worse than the so-called conspiracy itself. If you look at initial statements from Kensington Palace, it was clear that Kate Middleton would be out of the public eye until at least after Easter. The photoshopped picture of Kate and her family was released 3 weeks prior to Easter, within the period which she was supposed to be out of the public eye. In my view, this is less a tale of a conspiracy and more of a tale of perhaps the most significant Streisand effect of all time. Seriously, maybe it's time to rename it the Streisand-Middleton effect. But before I explain further, let me give you a brief background on what the Streisand effect is. The Streisand effect refers to the unintended consequence of increasing awareness of information by attempting to hide, remove, or censor it from the internet. It was named after Barbra Streisand, who tried to suppress a photo of her residence from the web, which led to more public attention than if left unnoticed. Efforts to suppress online information, such as cease and desist letters, often result in the opposite, making the information widely known and further distributed. Now back to the implications of this phenomenon on the Kate Middleton case. When Kensington Palace and major picture agencies hastily pulled the seemingly manipulated photograph from circulation, it sparked greater scrutiny and speculation rather than quelling rumors. This act inadvertently confirmed public suspicions that something was amiss, thereby amplifying the conspiracy theories surrounding Kate Middleton's recent public absence. The Streisand-Middleton effect illustrates how attempts to cover up and control the narrative often backfire, leading to wider dissemination and greater interest in the concealed information. And yeah, quick programming note, I've decided I will forever refer to it as the Streisand-Middleton effect. It also makes it sound more scientific. Let me know your thoughts on the Kate Middleton situation in the comments below. The Japanese SOS Incident. This case was recommended by Patreon supporter and community member Monoxide Wendigo. In July 1989, a significant yet perplexing event unfolded in the remote terrains of Daisetsuzan National Park, known as the Japanese SOS case. The incident began when two mountaineers from Tokyo became disoriented during their expedition from Mount Kurodake to Mount Asahidake. Their unforeseen detour led to a large-scale search operation by Hokkaido police. During their aerial search, the authorities stumbled upon a giant SOS sign constructed from 19 fallen birch trees, each approximately 5 meters in length. The rescue was initially deemed successful when the lost mountaineers were found and safely extracted a few kilometers from the SOS sign. However, the situation took an unexpected turn when the rescued men reported having no knowledge of the SOS sign. The authorities went back to the drawing board and conducted a full investigation of the SOS sign and the surrounding area, which yielded extremely unusual results. The subsequent investigation uncovered human bones, personal belongings, and a distressing audio recording near the SOS site. Among the found items were cassette tapes, a tape recorder, a backpack, and the driver's license of Kenji Iwamura, a 25-year-old office worker who had been missing since July 1984 after venturing out for a hike. This discovery sparked a complex mystery, intertwining the fates of the missing Iwamura and the unknown creator of the SOS sign. Initially, the remains were believed to belong to a female due to forensic analysis. However, this was later corrected to identify the remains as male, speculating it to be Iwamura's body. The area where the SOS sign was located, known as Safe Rock, became a focal point in understanding the circumstances that led to this tragic event. The SOS sign itself was a marvel of survival instinct, speculated to have been created over 2 days with considerable effort. Yet, doubts were cast on Iwamura's capability to construct such a sign given his physical condition, as described by the medical examination of the found remains. Iwamura was described as extremely small, thin, and weak, without the ability to participate in such heavy physical activity. In fact, Iwamura's presumed remains were assumed to be from a young woman, due to apparent dimorphic differences. This ambiguity, combined with the fact that no tool like an axe was found at the site, added layers of mystery to the case. The presence of an audio recording, wherein a male voice pleads for help, introduced a haunting element to the incident. Translated into English, this recording stated as follows: SOS help me. I can't move on the cliff. SOS help me. The place is where I first met the helicopter. The bamboo is deep and you can't go up. Lift me up from here. There are naturally speculations about it being Iwamura's voice. However, this is inconclusive, as his parents could not confirm its authenticity. Given the mention of a helicopter on the tape, this naturally suggests that something very sinister occurred between the man, who may be Iwamura, and the occupants of the helicopter. The Paradox of the Heap. The Paradox of the Heap, also known as the Sorite's Paradox, presents a dilemma stemming from the vagueness of predicates such as heap, bald, or tall. Initially posed by the ancient Greek philosopher Eubulides of Miletus, the paradox confronts the problem of vague terms in our everyday language and their application in logical reasoning. The paradox is typically illustrated by considering a heap of sand from which grains are individually removed. If a heap remains a heap after the removal of one grain, then logically, even a single remaining grain would still constitute a heap, leading to an absurd conclusion. Conversely, the paradox can be framed starting with a single grain and adding grains one at a time. If one grain does not make a heap, neither should two, and so on, leading to the illogical conclusion that no number of grains can ever form a heap. The core of the paradox lies in its exposure of tolerance, the notion that small changes do not affect the status of the heap. However, accumulated small changes lead to significant differences, challenging our intuitive categorizations. What happened to animal-type Earthlings in Dragon Ball Z? This section is in honor of Akira Toriyama, who passed away on March 1, 2024, with his passing being announced 1 week later after his family had time to process this tragedy. As someone who has consumed literally thousands of hours of Toriyama content, I say this with the most respect and love. Rest in paradise, brother. The original Dragon Ball manga and anime contained a significant amount of characters that were anthropomorphic animals. These characters are referred to canonically as, quote, animal-type Earthlings, and the disappearance of these creatures happened so gradually that almost no one noticed. The disappearance of animal-style Earthlings in Dragon Ball Z can be attributed to several factors. The setting's shift to different worlds naturally reduced the prominence of Earth's animal characters. Only key animal characters like Korin, Oolong, and Puar remained as a part of the peripheral cast, and no meaningful new animal-type Earthlings were introduced. Further, other animal-type Earthlings, such as King Furry, virtually disappeared from the series. Akira Toriyama, the creator of the series, suggested that the gradual omission might have been unintentional. He stated in an interview that he possibly forgot about them due to the series becoming more serious over time. Further, I suspect that they were more heavily included in Dragon Ball than in Dragon Ball Z, as the early portions of Dragon Ball are much more heavily inspired by Journey to the West. This Chinese classic contains a number of animal-type earthlings, most famously the Monkey King, known in Japanese as Goku. But wait, there's more to the story with this one. In Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, a video game, Anamorpholine is portrayed as a drug that can transform human-type earthlings into animal-type earthlings, known as Beastmen. According to the side quest narrative, this transformational property led to its popularity during the time of the original Dragon Ball series. Whether Anamorpholine is canon or not is open for interpretation. Those who hold that only the manga is canon interpret Anamorpholine as non-canonical. However, given the massive Dragon Ball extended universe, the vast majority of which exists outside the manga series, restricting the definition of canon to simply the manga seems perhaps reductionist. Consider the following. First, Anamorpholine was in an official DBZ product developed in close association with the rights holders. Second, Toriyama has never made a statement explicitly contradicting Anamorpholine. As such, I would potentially consider it canon. Anyway, thank you for your amazing work and creativity. I have a feeling my great-grandkids will be enjoying Dragon Ball content just the same as I did and do. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and slap that notification bell. I've said it before, but my goal is to create the most expansive Iceberg series in YouTube history, and I want you all along for the ride. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership, joining the Patreon, and joining the Discord. The Discord is now incredibly active and is generally the best place to suggest new cases or just interact with the community. The disappearance of Mora Murray. Mora Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, vanished under mysterious circumstances on February 9, 2004. Mora Murray was an accomplished student and athlete, described as quiet, introverted, and extremely motivated. Earlier that day, Murray had emailed her professors and work supervisor claiming a death in the family, which was later found to be untrue, and indicating she would be away for a week. Notably, this was an act that was extremely out of character for Murray, who has universally been described as a responsible hard worker. She packed her car with belongings, including clothing, college textbooks, and toiletries, and withdrew $280 from an ATM. Murray also purchased approximately $40 worth of alcoholic beverages before leaving Amherst in her black 1996 Saturn sedan. Her journey seemingly aimed towards the White Mountains, as she had searched for hotels in the Stowe, Vermont area earlier. However, her exact destination remains unknown, as she never informed anyone of her plans. That evening, Murray's vehicle was discovered crashed against a snowbank along Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A local resident reported the accident, and a passing motorist, a school bus driver, offered assistance to Murray, who declined, stating she had called for help. By the time police arrived approximately 10 minutes later, Murray had disappeared, leaving behind a locked car and some of her belongings. Notably, there were no footprints in the snow leading away from the car, and further, there were no visible signs of struggle. Further, her scent was lost within a short distance by sniffer dogs, leading to the belief she may have obtained a ride from the scene. Her cell phone, credit, and bank cards were missing, but no activity has been recorded since her disappearance. The case perplexed authorities and Murray's family, especially given the unusual circumstances leading up to her disappearance and the lack of evidence pointing to her whereabouts. Investigators found her dorm room packed up as though she was planning to move out. Before her disappearance, Murray seemed troubled, leaving her campus job early due to distress, but details of her concerns remain unknown. The case has drawn attention to the possibility of Murray intending to start anew or escape personal issues, but her reasons for leaving and the events that followed remain speculative. Theories regarding Murray's disappearance range widely. Personally, I have a hard time believing that Murray, who had a close relationship with her family, would simply leave like this and never inform them. Further, based on the circumstantial evidence, I would consider this next to impossible. Unfortunately, I suspect she may have been lured into a vehicle by a passerby and then ended. Perhaps she was tricked into the vehicle by someone claiming to be an off-duty police officer, but this, of course, is just speculative. Comparisons have been made with other local cases due to the similarities in circumstances. However, any connections to other cases remain speculative and unsubstantiated. The case is still being actively investigated, and Mora's family appears to have taken a very active role in making sure that her case does not fade from memory. I note the photograph on the right is an age-progressed photograph released in February 2024 by the FBI. If you have any information regarding the Mora Murray case, please contact your local FBI office, as the FBI have taken lead in this matter. The Tsuchinoko. The Tsuchinoko, a creature deeply ingrained in Japanese folklore, remains one of the country's most intriguing cryptids. This legendary being, often compared to a snake due to its obvious reptilian features, stands out due to its distinctive body shape, which is significantly wider at the midsection compared to its head and tail. The creature measures between 30 and 80 centimeters in length and is known for its alleged venomous fangs, akin to those of a viper. Unique among its supposed capabilities is the ability to perform consecutive jumps, and an extraordinary myth that it can swallow its tail to roll like a wheel. Historical sightings of the Tsuchinoko date back over 1,400 years, with the creature predominantly featuring in the folklore of Western Japan. However, the creature's supposed range is throughout the country. Interestingly, the Tsuchinoko is not only a subject of ancient myths, but has also been a part of modern-day culture, with sightings in rural areas near rivers and mountainous regions. Despite these claims, concrete evidence of the Tsuchinoko's existence remains elusive, as most accounts are based on anecdotal evidence, and none have been scientifically verified. In an effort to capture this elusive creature, various local governments and organizations have offered substantial rewards, reaching up to millions of yen for a live specimen. Yet, despite these lucrative incentives, no verifiable evidence of the Tsuchinoko has been presented to claim these rewards. The phenomenon has not only spurred numerous expeditions, but has also significantly influenced local tourism and popular culture, inspiring the creation of Tsuchinoko-themed attractions and products. The diet and habitat of the Tsuchinoko are subjects of fascination as well. Reported to live in forested mountain areas near water bodies, they're said to prey on small animals such as frogs, mice, and even larger creatures as they grow. Unique among its characteristics are the Tsuchinoko's supposed abilities to swim efficiently, produce a range of vocal sounds, and an affinity for alcohol, particularly sake. Yes, you heard me right. It's a fat snake with a beer belly. Well, a sake belly, I suppose. These attributes, along with its alleged cunning and deceptive nature, add layers of complexity and intrigue to the creature's legend, and suggest it was never meant to be a non-supernatural being. While the Tsuchinoko remains a significant figure in Japanese folklore, its existence as a real creature is generally not accepted. Also, I'm going to guess that this cryptid looks vaguely familiar to a fair amount of my viewing audience. And here's why. Viewers might recognize the Tsuchinoko through Dunsparce, a Pokemon inspired by this cryptid. Dunsparce, known for its unique serpentine body, shares similar traits with the Tsuchinoko, such as a chubby middle and an ability to make unusual sounds. Dunsparce's distinct design and attributes, mirroring those of the Tsuchinoko, has turned this once fairly obscure cryptid into a fairly well-known creature worldwide. Oh, and in terms of what the Tsuchinoko actually is, I assume someone somewhere saw a snake digesting something, and the legend grew from there. Quantum immortality. Quantum immortality is a concept born from the quantum self-ending thought experiment, which aims to test the many worlds interpretation, MWI, of quantum mechanics. This theory suggests that for every possible outcome of a quantum event, there exists a separate universe. In the context of the quantum self-ending experiment, an individual supposedly would continue to survive in a parallel universe whenever they face life-threatening situations. According to this thought experiment, if the MWI is correct, one could, in theory, never experience their own demise, as there would always be a version of them that survives in an alternate universe. However, this notion of quantum immortality raises profound philosophical and scientific challenges. Critics argue that dying is not an instantaneous event, but rather a transition through various states of consciousness. Proponents of MWI have clarified that the supposed immortality only applies within the highly specific conditions of the thought experiment. Real-world scenarios involve a range of outcomes between being fully alive and fully dead, where consciousness fades gradually rather than instantly switching between states. This undermines the simplistic dichotomy of alive or dead presumed by quantum immortality and suggests that, in practical terms, one would not experience eternal survival. Furthermore, the academic community largely disagrees with the real-world applicability of quantum immortality. The concept relies heavily on the unproven assumption that consciousness can continue unimpeded across different universes. Most scientists and philosophers argue that if an individual were to die in some of these universes, they would continue to exist in significantly fewer universes, diminishing their overall presence. This reduction in measure or probability presence across the multiverse suggests that an individual should not expect immortality from their subjective point of view. So while this is a very interesting thought experiment, upon closer examination, there are a number of different quote-unquote holes in the thought experiment. However, I would argue that these quote-unquote holes in the experiment are largely holes in the popular interpretation of the quantum immortality thought experiment. The Almas. The Almas, often referred to as the wild man of Central Asia, is a Central Asian hominid cryptid. Descriptions of the Almas, painted as a creature with a human-like flat face, walking on two legs, covered in thick black fur, and possessing formidable strength. Such characteristics have led some to propose that the Almas could be a relic population of Neanderthals still residing in remote areas of Siberia. Other theories suggest that it is a bipedal ape, much like Bigfoot, and propose that it may be a Gigantopithecus, or perhaps an unknown chimpanzee-like creature. Historical encounters and scientific expeditions have attempted to shed light on this creature. In the 1960s, Soviet scientists suggested the possibility of the Almas being Neanderthals, sparking expeditions in the Caucasus Mountains to uncover evidence. Despite these efforts, all hair samples attributed to the Almas have eventually been attributed to brown bears. This mix-up between myth and reality can be attributed to several factors. Bears, especially those standing on their hind legs, can look surprisingly human-like from a distance. Additionally, Bear tracks in the snow can resemble human footprints and can expand over time, leading to further confusion. Notably, numerous cultures have noted the similarities between bears and humans. For instance, traditional Korean beliefs surrounding bears tells of a bear who turned into a woman who gave birth to the first Koreans. My point being that human beings have noted that bears bear a strong resemblance to humans generally, and we continue to confuse bears for hominid cousins. Or maybe I'm totally wrong and there's a Bigfoot population living in Kazakhstan. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Join up on the Discord. We've got a very active community there now. The link is in the description. Also, don't forget to hit the playlist to see dozens of hours of Unsolved Mysteries content. Huge thanks to all my YouTube members and patrons. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Kazak Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z Volts, Director Delta, and Unknown Delusions. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Also to every viewer and listener, I love you a ton, and you make this all possible. I'm not exaggerating when I say that without you this channel wouldn't exist. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone. Welcome to part 23 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. The disappearance of Michael Dunahee. The Michael Dunahee case was and is one of Canada's most extensive missing child investigations. On March 24, 1991, 4-year-old Michael vanished from a school playground in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, during his mother's flag football game. Despite being only meters away and out of sight for mere seconds, Michael disappeared without a trace. The Victoria police immediately treated Michael's case as an abduction and mobilized a massive search involving all detectives from the department. They sifted through hundreds of tips, none of which led to any meaningful leads. Unfortunately, technology limitations at the time hampered the investigation. There was no meaningful video surveillance, and DNA testing was not available. Over the years, there have been numerous sightings and reports, yet none have led to Michael. Notable incidents occurred in 2006, 2011, and 2013, when young men matching Michael's description were subject to DNA testing. All these young men were ruled out, though I suspect this was already known by the young men themselves. Notably, in 2009, Milwaukee police discovered a missing person poster of Michael in the home of a deceased individual, but this clue did not further the investigation. In 2021, police released an age-enhanced sketch of what Michael might look like as an adult. This revived public interest and led to an influx of tips through a newly established online portal. Also, I've included the sketch here, and I've included a link in the description to the tip portal through the Victoria Police Department. However, despite these efforts, Michael remains missing. The case significantly impacted the Victoria community, leading to increased awareness and precautionary measures against child abduction. Michael's parents, Bruce and Crystal, are still extremely involved in the case and continue to advocate for their son 33 years after his disappearance. If you have any information regarding Michael Dunahee's disappearance, I'm asking that you please contact the Victoria Police Department at vicpd.ca or submit a tip online. As discussed earlier, the Victoria Police Department has a dedicated online tip submission page, which I've added to the description of this video as well. The Falcon Lake Incident. This case is a recommendation from Discord community member Vsauce. Thanks for this interesting case. The Falcon Lake Incident, occurring on May 20th, 1967, near Falcon Lake, Manitoba, Canada, remains one of the most discussed UFO sightings in history. Stefan Michalak, an amateur prospector and former military policeman, encountered what he described as a UFO while searching for quartz veins. His detailed account and the physical evidence presented make this incident uniquely compelling and difficult to dismiss outright. Michalak reported seeing two cigar-shaped objects descending near him. One landed close enough for him to inspect, which he promptly did. He described the object as metallic, with a smooth surface devoid of seams, approximately 30 feet in length and 15 feet in height, and emitting a glow and heat reminiscent of hot stainless steel. Attempting communication in English, Polish, Russian, and German yielded no response. Michalak's attempt to touch the object resulted in his glove melting due to the intense heat. As he walked away, the craft emitted a blast of gas, causing severe burns to his abdomen and setting his clothes on fire. After his alleged encounter, Michalak was spotted by Constable Solotki of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Constable Solotki assumed that Michalak was under the influence of alcohol due to his disoriented state. However, Solotki did not detect any smell of alcohol on Michalak. Solotki's report suggests he offered to help Michalak and even proposed taking him back to Falcon Beach to seek medical treatment, which Michalak declined. However, Michalak's memory ran contrary to Solotki's official RCMP report. Contrary to Solotki's report, Michalak felt that the constable was dismissive and refused to offer the necessary assistance. Upon returning to Winnipeg, Michalak sought medical help, where he was admitted to the emergency room and where he received treatment for his burns and other symptoms. Despite suffering from symptoms consistent with radiation poisoning, tests conducted for radiation poisoning were inconclusive. Michalak's physical condition deteriorated in the aftermath of the encounter. Investigations into the incident included a stay at the world-famous Mayo Clinic, where he was deemed of sound mind. Further, doctors at the Mayo Clinic found a drastic drop in lymphocyte count, providing some evidence of radiation poisoning. I note that Michalak's claim was exhaustively investigated by both Canadian and American authorities. I question why American authorities would be investigating this case if Canadian authorities hadn't invited them in to be a part of the process. As such, I have to think that there is something more to the story than the official records let on. All publicly available reports on the incident indicate that the results of the Canadian and American investigations were, quote, inconclusive. Skeptics have proposed several explanations for the Falcon Lake incident, including it being a hoax. Other explanations include a case of misidentification of a conventional aircraft, a natural phenomena, or a psychological episode potentially exacerbated by alcohol consumption. Despite these theories, no explanation fully accounts for all aspects of Michalak's account and the physical evidence. Hi, Brazil. This case was recommended by community member Lauren Redmond. Thanks for realizing just how much I love Phantom Island unsolved mysteries. The myth of High Brazil is often referred to as Ireland's Atlantis, and in a moment you'll see why this is the case. The legend describes it as a mysterious island, visible only once every 7 years, shrouded in mist and located somewhere off the west coast of Ireland. The mythological aspects of High Brazil are deeply rooted in Irish culture, with the island often associated with enchantment and mystery. It's said to be a place beyond the reach of normal human experience, inhabited by gods, magicians, or priests harboring ancient wisdom. Such legends resonate with the narrative of the island appearing and disappearing mysteriously, reinforcing its status as an unattainable paradise. The earliest cartographic mentions of High Brazil date back to the 14th century. Genoese cartographer Angelino de Dall'Orto is credited with being the first to map the island in 1325. situating it west of Ireland. Successive maps, including further Genoese and Venetian maps of the 15th century, continued to depict the island, though its exact location varied from one map to another. Perhaps most famously, High Brazil appears on the Piri Reis map, regarded as being one of the most accurate pre-modern maps in existence. There were reports that sailors and adventurers saw the island, which contributed to its persistent inclusion on maps despite no concrete evidence of its existence. Throughout the years, High Brazil was linked with several historical expeditions and figures. Expeditions from Bristol in the late 15th century sought the island without success. Later, explorers like John Cabot were rumored to have found it, further intertwining the legend with the age of exploration generally. Despite extensive searches and expeditions, no physical evidence of High Brazil has ever been confirmed with any certainty. Despite this lack of confirmation, High Brazil appeared in various forms and locations on maps until the late 19th century. It is generally considered a phantom island, a product of folklore, navigational errors, and perhaps a collective desire for undiscovered lands. However, there's an obscure theory from the 19th century that I would like to take a moment to revive. The Porcupine Bank, a submerged landmass west of Ireland, has been proposed as the real-world counterpart of the mythical High Brazil. Discovered in 1862 and visible at extreme low tides, this shoal is situated approximately 200 kilometers from Ireland, matching some historical descriptions of High Brazil's location. Early maps and tales often depicted High Brazil to the west of Ireland, which, quite conveniently for this theory, is the location of Porcupine Bank. The theory is supported by geological evidence, such as the presence of shallow water shells, suggesting that this area could have once been above water. Moreover, historical accounts and folklore describe High Brazil as appearing and disappearing mysteriously, a trait that could correspond to the natural transient visibility of the Porcupine Bank. Despite these connections, the exact relationship remains speculative, as definitive proof linking Porcupine Bank directly to the High Brazil legend has yet to be found. Personally, I support this connection, and I would speculate that the other facts related to High Brazil have just been added on by way of legend over the years. Let me know of any mysterious phantom islands you would like me to cover in the comments below. I'm actually waiting to discover a case about a phantom island containing a lost city, which also happens to be the site of a lost gold mine. If you've watched this series this far, you may have gotten a sensible chuckle out of that joke. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel, asking you for a quick favor. If you're enjoying my content, please smash the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. And yes, I've been dying to say smash in this context, and no, it won't happen again. Also consider signing up for a YouTube membership or joining the Patreon. In particular, your support allows me to tackle content which has the risk of getting videos demonetized. Also, join the Discord community. We've got nearly 50 people in there now, and it's great. The link's in the description. The Persian Princess Mummy. This is a recommendation from patron Monoxide Wendigo. Thank you for yet another great suggestion for this series. The Persian Princess Mummy case is perhaps the most fascinating archaeological hoax you've never heard of. Discovered in Pakistani Baluchistan in October 2000 during a slaying investigation, the Persian Princess Mummy quickly drew international attention due to its purported ancient Persian origins. Allegedly belonging to a royal lineage, possibly even a daughter of the great Persian king Cyrus the Great, this mummy caused conflict over ownership. The mummy sparked a dispute between Pakistan, Iran, and the Taliban over its rightful ownership, each laying claims based on historical, territorial, or cultural grounds. The mummy was initially identified through a gold plaque bearing cuneiform inscriptions, suggesting a connection to Persian royalty. This was particularly sensational because Persian tradition did not typically include mummification, which is more closely associated with ancient Egyptian customs. The unique case thus presented a historical anomaly with theories that the individual might have been an Egyptian married into Persian royalty or an Egyptian adopted into Persian culture. However, the narrative began to unravel when discrepancies in the mummy's condition and the accompanying artifacts were noted. The text on the breastplate, which was a significant piece of evidence for its ancient origin, was incorrect, indicating that the creators were not well versed in ancient Persian script. Furthermore, scientific analyses, including carbon dating, CT scans, and chemical testing, revealed that the mummy was a modern creation. The body itself was found to only be a few years old at the time of discovery. These findings suggested that not only was the mummy a forgery, but it might also be the remains of a recent murder victim. Adding weight to this theory was evidence of blunt force trauma and the removal of internal organs. The investigation revealed that the mummy might have been a contemporary woman, approximately 21 to 25 years old, whose body was manipulated post-mortem to appear ancient. This disturbing twist pointed towards a criminal effort to sell a fabricated artifact on the black market for millions of dollars, exploiting the lucrative trade in antiquities. As for the identity of the young woman known as the, quote, Persian princess, that part remains unknown at present. Further, no one is entirely certain how she met her end. Though she is assumed to have been slain, others have posited that she may have been accidentally struck by a vehicle and killed, with her body used for this purpose opportunistically. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any clear information on what happened to the individuals involved in the likely slaying. Arrests were made in 2001, but the story appears to have faded quickly, though I suspect there are additional sources in other languages such as Farsi or Urdu. And as a final postscript, in 2008, a charitable organization was given her body to give her a proper funeral. But let's get back to the hoax for 1 second before moving on. While it is easy to simply blame the actual perpetrators of the hoax and likely slaying and move on from this case, I'm going to delve a bit deeper. The Persian princess hoax required a collective suspension of disbelief among all parties involved. Initially, the mummy's sensational discovery under extremely suspicious circumstances ought to have set off alarm bells right away. Why were people being investigated for a slaying just happening to be harboring an ancient mummy? That would have been the first question I would have been asking as an outsider not acting out of nationalist fervor or the desire for academic greatness. The narrative associated with the Persian princess appealed both to national pride and scholarly ambition, blinding everyone involved to the glaring inconsistencies. Archaeologists and the authorities seemingly initially embraced the find without rigorous verification due to the allure of a groundbreaking discovery and potential financial gain. This collective willful blindness ignored established archaeological practices, such as the detailed scrutiny of provenance and the application of multidisciplinary scientific tests. And in terms of that last point, one must question why the rigorous scientific testing only occurred after there had been significant suspicion that the mummy was a forgery. Also, the international dispute over the mummy's origins between Pakistan, Iran, and the Taliban fueled another narrative that overshadowed the need for cautious scientific inquiry. All nations involved were struck with nationalistic fever and the desire to accrue the cultural prestige associated with the Persian princess mummy, the Sakhalin Island woolly whale. In June 2015, the residents of Sakhalin Island, Russia, encountered a peculiar sight, a large carcass washed ashore exhibiting characteristics not typically associated with marine animals. Also, trust me, if you're just listening to this right now, you're going to want to pause for a moment and look at this picture. If you're driving, pull over for a second, and if you're at work and can't pull your phone out, this is your time to go for a washroom break. This creature was over 11 feet long and 4 feet wide, with distinct features such as a beak, white fur-like tissue, and bones protruding along its sides. Upon its discovery, it was theorized that the creature could potentially be a Ganges River dolphin, though this was quickly dismissed due to size issues, as well as the Ganges River dolphin being a freshwater dolphin. Initially, the presence of fur led to significant speculation and intrigue, with various theories surfacing regarding the creature's origins and classification. Well, despite how this mystery is generally presented, the solution is actually out in plain sight. Sakhalin Island, lying close to Japan and forming part of Russia, is known for its rich biodiversity, including various species of whales. The island's proximity to rich marine ecosystems make it a site where marine creatures can often be found washed ashore due to natural circumstances or human-related activities. The initial assumption was that the Sakhalin Island woolly whale was an entirely new species, given its unusual appearance. The fur covering the carcass particularly puzzled onlookers and scientists alike. However, upon closer examination and consultation with marine biologists, it was identified as another specimen of the Baird's beaked whale, albeit in a state of advanced decomposition. The fur turned out to be decomposing connective tissue and fibers, which is not uncommon in decomposing marine animals. At any rate, the photograph of this supposed creature is still widely circulated as a rather convincing cryptid, despite the mystery being solved. Also, as an aside, I had no idea the Baird's beaked whale was a thing. It's basically just a 40-foot dolphin as far as I can tell. The Van Meter Visitor. Originating from the small town of Van Meter, Iowa, the Van Meter Visitor describes a series of strange events that took place over several nights in late September and early October of 1903. Witnesses described encounters with a large, mysterious creature, leading to widespread fear and speculation. The creature was later dubbed the Van Meter Visitor by the local press. The appearance of the Van Meter Visitor has been likened to that of a pterodactyl, with some reports suggesting the creature stood about 9 feet tall. It was described as fast, with features including bat wings and a horn on its head with a bright spotlight-like end. The creature also emitted a foul odor, described as smelling like rotting flesh, which was so potent that it could allegedly render a person unconscious. According to local residents, the creature descended from a telephone pole in a manner reminiscent of a parrot climbing down a pole. I imagine it going sort of vertical. This entity then took off. Some accounts say it flew, others say it walked, heading towards the old coal mine on the outskirts of town. And to make matters worse for the town, the creature wasn't alone. Subsequent sightings reported that it was accompanied by a second creature of similar appearance. The two emerged from the old mine, emitting disturbing sounds that the Des Moines Daily News described as, quote, Satan and a regiment of chimps coming forth for a battle. The townsfolk decided to form a posse and bring these creatures to justice. The posse confronted the two creatures in town and forced the entities to flee back to the local mine where they had been shacking up. When the creatures returned to the mine, after being confronted by armed townsfolk, they were met with a barrage of bullets, which reportedly had no effect on them. Following this, the townspeople decided to seal off the mine, hoping to trap the creatures within. Unsurprisingly, after being entombed in the mine, there were no further sightings of these creatures. Theories about the Van Meter visitor's identity vary widely. Some theorists suggest that the sightings were the result of a case of mistaken identity. Common proposals include great horned owls, large bats, or great blue herons. These could have been misinterpreted as something more sinister in low light conditions, and the light sources at the time would have mostly been torches, which cast long shadows. The heron, for instance, stands over 4 feet tall with a 6-foot wingspan, and its silhouette could resemble the creature's reported features in the dark. And of course, owls have the ability to puff out their feathers and generate horrific sounds, which causes, quote, owl misidentifications, common amongst cryptids. A theory which I consider highly unlikely is that the Van Meter visitors were actually humans utilizing a flashlight or a headlamp in an era when such technology was new and startling. This theory suggests that the creature's nocturnal activities on rooftops and its single beam of light could be attributed to a human thief or prowler rather than an unknown cryptid. Additional speculative theories include the possibility that the visitor was a dinosaur or other prehistoric creature that had somehow survived underground. Under this theory, the creatures emerged due to disturbances from mining activities. In my view, this probably makes the best movie plotline, but obviously there's no evidence for this. Further, it has also been speculated that the creatures were interdimensional or extraterrestrial beings. In my view, this is likely a simple case of an owl misidentification overlaid upon mass hysteria, overlaid with a further layer of sensationalistic media coverage. Either that, or it was an interdimensional dinosaur that shoots lasers from its head. Exercise your own judgment. Zeno's dichotomy paradox. Zeno's dichotomy paradox is a classical philosophical problem originating from Zeno of Elea, a 5th century BC Greek thinker. The dichotomy paradox is articulated through the scenario of motion, where, for any movement to occur, an object must first cover half the distance to its destination. This process repeats infinitely, as each subsequent movement requires reaching the halfway point of the remaining distance. In theory, this creates an endless division of distances, suggesting that starting or completing any movement is impossible, since one would need to complete an infinite number of tasks. This conclusion posits that motion is an illusion, as it seems to be logically impossible to traverse an infinite sequence of steps in finite time. However, the resolution to this paradox and others like it has evolved over the millennia, especially with the advent of mathematical theories, particularly calculus. Zeno's observations unwittingly laid the groundwork for the concept of limits, central to calculus, which was developed millennia later. Using limits, this means that despite the infinite number of steps, the total distance covered is finite and equals 1 unit. This mathematical solution refutes the paradox by demonstrating that an infinite number of actions can indeed sum up to a finite distance, allowing for motion and reaching the endpoint. The concept of limits is crucial here. It tells us that as the number of steps increases indefinitely, the sum of the distances covered, each step becoming progressively smaller, approaches a finite limit. Thus, even though the series of steps is infinite, the distance does not become infinitely large. Instead, it converges to a specific value, 1 unit. So you may be asking, if this paradox is resolved, why is it included in an Unsolved Mysteries series? Well, this paradox is still presented as an unsolved mystery in many contexts, even though the sum of human knowledge conquered this paradox centuries ago. Further, the paradox stood unresolved for well over 2,000 years. The concept appears to be easy to explain today, based upon our present sum of human knowledge. However, without the core concepts of calculus, developed by 2 of the greatest minds in human history, Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz, it wouldn't be so. For instance, Zeno, no matter his level of intellect, could simply never produce the solution I just explained to you for this paradox. And to tie it back to Isaac Newton, this is the reason that he was acutely aware that he was only able to make the discoveries he did by, quote, standing on the shoulders of giants. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you enjoy philosophical and mathematical entries in this series, and if so, I'll include more. The Hokkaido wolf. The Hokkaido wolf is an allegedly extinct subspecies of gray wolf, once endemic to Japan and the Russian Far East. They lived in Hokkaido, Sakhalin, the Kuril Islands, and parts of the Kamchatka Peninsula. Importantly, the Hokkaido wolf must not be confused with the Japanese wolf, a similarly extinct wolf found in other parts of Japan which has now ascended to cryptid status. The Hokkaido wolf's extinction is attributed primarily to human activities during the Meiji Restoration, a period marked by Japan's rapid modernization and westernization, starting in the late mid-19th century. The physical attributes of the Hokkaido wolf resembled those of its North American and Asian gray wolf relatives. It stood above 2.5 feet at the shoulders and weighed between 70 to 80 pounds, with a large head, strong jaws, and muscular body. The Ainu people, indigenous to the regions where the Hokkaido wolf lived, revered the wolf as a deity named Akarokamui, which translates as the Howling God. And yeah, we're all thinking it, aren't we? A wolf named the Howling God sounds pretty metal. The Ainu held ceremonies and had religious practices that highlighted their respect for the wolf, distinguishing it significantly from their domestic dogs. The primary cause of the Hokkaido wolf's extinction was the introduction of American-style ranching in Hokkaido. The Meiji government sought to modernize Japanese agriculture, which led to the importation of livestock and the consequent increase in wolf versus farmer conflicts. This situation prompted the government to declare war on wolves and deem them as pests. Methods such as wolf poisoning, along with a bounty system, were employed extensively, leading to the species' eventual extinction around 1889. Additional factors such as the decline in deer populations, a primary food source for the wolves, due to overhunting and habitat loss, further exacerbated the wolves' decline. Despite its extinction, there have been unverified sightings of the Hokkaido wolf up until the present day, leading to speculation about its complete disappearance. However, naysayers have attributed these reports to wolf-dog hybrids, rather than pure specimens of the Hokkaido wolf. Interestingly, the Hokkaido wolf may have persisted in Sakhalin up until the middle of the 20th century. Also, there remains the possibility that the Hokkaido wolf may still exist in the remote regions of Kamchatka in the Russian Far East. Despite its supposed extinction, there have been unverified sightings and reports suggesting that the wolf could have survived, particularly in less inhabited areas like Kamchatka. The Kamchatka Peninsula is known for its vast and rugged wilderness, much of which remains untouched and scarcely populated. Further, the dense forests, harsh climate, and limited human activity make Kamchatka an ideal location for a small surviving population of these wolves to exist unnoticed. This remote area provides a potential refuge for wildlife, including the descendants of the Hokkaido wolf. Anyway, let's hope that a population of Hokkaido wolves is out there somewhere, living their best wolf lives. Are we alone in the universe? Whether we are alone in the universe is one of the fundamental questions humans have grappled with since we had the ability to understand the concept of the universe itself. Famously, the Drake equation, formulated by Frank Drake in 1961, serves as a probabilistic tool to estimate the number of communicative extraterrestrial civilizations within our galaxy. The equation takes into account factors such as the number of stars, the fraction of those stars that have planets, and the likelihood of life and technological civilizations developing on those planets. Further modifications of this equation have been made, focusing instead on how often technological capable species might have arisen in the observable universe's history. In contrast, the rare Earth hypothesis posits that the conditions on Earth enabling complex life are exceptionally rare in the universe. According to this hypothesis, although simple life forms like microbes might be widespread, the hypothesis argues that complex life is exceedingly rare due to the multitude of precise conditions required. The Fermi paradox deepens the mystery by pointing out the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations' existence and the lack of evidence for them. Solutions to the paradox vary from suggesting that intelligent life is rare and that technological civilizations are short-lived, or that they exist, but we have not yet detected them. Further, the dark forest hypothesis, derived from science fiction, offers a grim solution to the Fermi paradox, suggesting that civilizations remain silent to avoid detection by potentially hostile entities. Under this hypothesis, civilizations that don't stay quiet get eaten up, perhaps quite literally. Another potential solution for the Fermi paradox is that humans are the first beings in the history of the universe to reach our present technological state. In my view, this seems improbable, but of course it's not impossible. If you haven't done it already, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Remember to hit the playlist to see dozens of hours of unsolved mysteries. Shout out to my patrons Kazakh Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemoose. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Also to every viewer and listener, I love you a ton, and you make this all possible. I'm not exaggerating when I say that without you, this channel wouldn't exist. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone. Welcome to part 24 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. Is there an active serial slayer in Austin, Texas? This is a great suggestion from subscriber My Mind Went AWOL. Thank you for this great current and ongoing mystery. The series of tragic events at Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas has sparked a widespread discussion, particularly focusing on the theory surrounding a potential serial wrongdoer targeting individuals. There is now a strong belief in many online communities, including on YouTube and on TikTok, that a serial slayer is active in the region. And yes, you heard that right. I just called serial slayers, quote, serial wrongdoers. The euphemism treadmill keeps on churning. There are numerous proposed victims of this perpetrator, with many of the bodies remaining unidentified at present. The internet has dubbed this potential serial slayer the Rainy Street Ripper, though his victim profile bears no resemblance to Jack the Ripper's. The ages of these individuals range primarily from their 20s to 30s, though there were potential outliers. Most incidents occurred in proximity to the Rainy Street Entertainment District, a common factor contributing to public speculation. Investigations by the Austin Police Department and Travis County Medical Examiner have concluded several of these cases as accidental. That said, if you're this far in this series, you know by now that the quote, accidental designation is no exact science. Similarities in several cases, such as the vicinity to Rainy Street and timeframes, fueled public speculation. However, the police have consistently found no evidence suggesting the involvement of a serial wrongdoer. Instead, the Austin police have urged the public to be cautious around Lady Bird Lake for other reasons. They have highlighted issues like poor visibility at night and the dangers of combining alcohol with proximity to water. The community's response has been significant, with a surge in attention on social media and among local residents. While many incidents at Lady Bird Lake have been declared unrelated by authorities, this conclusion could inadvertently serve as a smokescreen for a potential serial wrongdoer. This theory posits that by leveraging the police's stance of no connection between the events, a perpetrator could continue to operate under the guise of random tragic accidents. Austin's vibrant nightlife and the close proximity of Rainy Street to the lake's edge offer a conducive setting for such tragic incidents. Nighttime visibility issues and the influence of alcohol are legitimate concerns that have been linked to several cases. However, the repetitive nature of these incidents, particularly around the same locale and demographic, definitely raises the question of whether a more sinister pattern is at play. The skepticism among some family members and the community further fuels the speculation. For instance, in the case of Martin Gutierrez, a 25-year-old man found in a deceased state in 2018, Martin had a contusion of unknown origin on the back of his head. At any rate, based on the evidence so far, it doesn't appear to be possible to say for certain whether there's a serial slayer active in the area. I will say, though, that the individuals targeted are not the general targets for serial slayers. Serial slayers tend not to target young, strong men, and the reason is that most of them are cowardly and opportunistic predators. Serial wrongdoers tend to target individuals who can't meaningfully fight back, or who are, on a probabilistic basis, unlikely to have anyone to advocate for them. However, theorists have speculated that the Lady Bird Lake serial slayer may be using an undetectable drug to render the victims in a stupor. Let me know in the comments what you think of this hypothesized serial slayer, Giglioli's whale. This is another fantastic suggestion from community member Lauren Redmond. You're really on a roll with these suggestions lately. The Giglioli's whale has sparked interest and controversy since its first and essentially only sighting in the 19th century. Its defining characteristic, the presence of two dorsal fins, sets it apart from any known species of whale. The legend of the Giglioli's whale began on September 4, 1867. Italian zoologist Enrico Hillier Giglioli, aboard the warship Magenta, observed an unusual whale approximately 1,200 miles off the coast of Chile. Giglioli noted that the whale possessed two dorsal fins, a feature unprecedented amongst whales. The whale was noted to be extremely large, at approximately 60 feet. This single sighting sparked decades of speculation and mystery regarding the creature's existence and classification. The concept of a whale with two dorsal fins is not entirely without precedent in marine biology. There have been instances of dolphins exhibiting abnormal fin structures due to genetic mutations or other anomalies. For example, there have been reports of dolphins or whales off the coast of New South Wales, Australia, that appeared to have additional dorsal fins. These sightings were initially thought to be evidence of Giglioli's whale or a related species, but were later attributed to genetic defects or possible misidentifications. The idea that Giglioli's whale could be a unique species has been met with skepticism for several reasons. Foremost, the double dorsal structure simply doesn't exist amongst any extinct or extant dolphin or whale. Simply put, a whale exhibiting an extra dorsal fin would be like a hominid exhibiting four arms. We can say with certainty that hominids don't exhibit four arms, but always exhibit two arms. And how do we know this? From observations of every hominid species ever. Further, it has now been 150 years since the initial sighting, and there have been no credible sightings in the meantime. Further, it is important to remember that for a large portion of that 150 years, the oceans were essentially harvested nearly dry of whales. Despite the endless harvest of whales from the 19th century to the middle of the 20th century, never once was a double dorsal whale reported. Further yet, the Giglioli's whale is supposed to be 60 feet long, from the one observation noted. Unlike other sea creatures, whales don't have the luxury of chilling in the depths. These guys need to come up for air on a regular basis. Again, despite this, no one has ever seen the supposed whale again. I've got a few thoughts on what Giglioli observed. And of course, given his standing within his academic field, it's irresponsible to simply discount his sighting. This isn't your Uncle Bob going out on a 2-hour whale watching excursion and claiming he saw a whale with, quote, 2 fins on top. Giglioli's observation of a 2-finned whale might be incorrect due to several factors. The most likely factor is the potential of seeing 2 whales briefly swimming in tandem, creating the double dorsal optical illusion. Interestingly, this commonly happens with dolphins. Furthermore, human perception under unique or stressful circumstances, like being in the South Pacific on a ship in the 19th century, could have altered his perception. Finally, there's always the potential that Giglioli simply fabricated or exaggerated the sighting for academic clout and prestige. Picture this. You're in the middle of the South Pacific in what is one of the absolutely most remote places on Earth, even today. Seriously, there's points in the South Pacific where if you were placed there alone, the nearest human being would be on the International Space Station. So you're Giglioli and you've already got a good academic reputation, but you know what you could always use? Just a little more clout. And what better way to acquire it as a 19th century zoologist than to discover a new 60-foot whale that is completely unlike any whale ever discovered? But wait, you're asking, what if a scientific peer wants to see the whale and confirm the evidence of the whale themselves? Well, there's a very easy solution to that. Giglioli could just say, "Hey dude, definitely check out that whale named after me on your next 9-month round-trip voyage to the South Pacific." In my view, the location of the sighting, along with the groundbreaking and extraordinary nature of the sighting, raises the specter that Giglioli, the eminent scientist, may have made it all up. And hey, if he did, I guess he won. Because here I am, a century and a half later, talking about a whale that almost certainly cannot even theoretically exist, based on known whale morphology. It's your boy Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. My goal is to create the most expansive Iceberg series in YouTube history, so get on board for the ride. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership, joining the Patreon, and joining the Discord. The Curse of the Hope Diamond. The Hope Diamond, renowned for its stunning beauty, also carries a reputation shadowed by misfortune and sorrow, dubbed the Curse of the Hope Diamond. The origins of the curse trace back to Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, a 17th century French merchant. He may have acquired the original 115-carat blue diamond, then known as the Tavernier Blue, under dubious circumstances from the eye of a Hindu statue in Golconda in India. According to lore, following its theft, a series of misfortunes are said to have afflicted Tavernier, including a fever leading to his death. In the alternative, other tellings indicate that he was ripped apart by a pack of wolves or wild dogs. However, actual historical records indicate he passed away at 84 years of age, an extremely healthy age for a 17th century adventurer. But wait, there's more. Actual historical accounts seem to suggest that he may have simply purchased the diamond legitimately from an Indian merchant in Golconda. This would make sense given that during the 17th century, the Golconda Sultanate was the source of virtually all of the world's freshly minted ultra-high quality diamonds. King Louis XIV, the Sun King, became another notable owner, purchasing the gem from Tavernier and renaming it the French Blue. He had the diamond recut, reducing it to a mere 69 carats. Some sources attempt to portray the diamond as negatively impacting his reign, but he acquired the diamond in 1668 and owned it the remainder of his life. His reign of 72 years, 110 days, is the longest reign of any monarch in human history. Further, during his reign, France was at the absolute zenith of its power, with the exception of possible unsustainable moments from Napoleon's reign. Even further yet, Louis XIV did this in a time when he was the absolute ruler of France. Okay, so this curse is looking rather weak so far, but maybe he would have a few more years, but for the ownership of the Hope Diamond. Two owners of the Hope Diamond definitely did meet rather ill fates, however, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. That said, any rational explanation for why the Hope Diamond caused their heads to depart from their bodies non-consensually is sorely lacking. I note that Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were undoubtedly amongst the richest people in the world, possessing nearly unheard of amounts of wealth. They surely possessed some other item which may have had a competing curse. The Hope family themselves possessed it from 1830 to 1902, when the Lord Francis Hope was forced to sell it to settle debts. But then the night before he was about to complete the sale, a malicious red squirrel entered his bedroom and gnawed through his carotid artery, ending him in a horrific and painful fashion. No, wait, that didn't happen. Lord Francis Hope proceeded with the sale and later became the 8th Duke of Newcastle. He thereafter lived out his life on his 3,800-acre English country estate near Sheffield. Yet another victim of this horrific curse. Had he not had the Hope Diamond, perhaps the estate would have been double the size. Personally, I'm not even sure how one duke even managed to survive on such a puny little property. Harry Winston, one of the wealthiest diamond traders in history, so successful that he was called the, quote, King of Diamonds, was the last non-institutional owner of the Hope Diamond. So surely Winston must have had some horrific fate befall him, right? Nope. He donated the diamond to the Smithsonian in 1958 because guess what? The man simply had too much money and too many diamonds. He lived till age 82, passing away in 1978. Today, the Hope Diamond is housed at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., drawing crowds eager to glimpse the legendary gem. The entire narrative of misfortune attached to the Hope Diamond appears to be tied to a 1911 New York Times article, which was clearly not fact-checked whatsoever. The article ascribes numerous misfortunes to numerous people who never owned the diamond. To quote the great Jonathan Frakes, "It's false. No way. We made this one up. No. Pure fiction. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It's an urban legend." The high-finned sperm whale. This cryptid is another recommendation from Lauren Redmond. Thanks for another amazing whale suggestion. This creature is said to be a relative of the known sperm whale, but with an unusually tall dorsal fin, setting it apart from its more common relatives. Its existence has been a subject of debate, with sightings and reports adding to the mystery. The first recorded observation of this enigmatic whale dates back to 1687 when Sir Robert Sibbald described a stranded female on Orkney, an island off the northeast coast of Scotland. He noted that its dorsal fin resembled a, quote, mizzen mast, which I had to look up. To translate this term into more relatable English, this means that the whale's dorsal fin resembled the large rear sail of a ship. Despite this early account, skepticism has prevailed, with prominent naturalists like Georges Cuvier discounting such claims due to the lack of concrete evidence. Further adding to the cryptid's lore, a sighting was reported on September 27, 1946, near Nova Scotia, Canada, where locals observed the creature trapped in the area for 2 days. However, estimates of the dorsal fin's length varied dramatically, ranging from 10 feet to 100 feet, which naturally contributed to skepticism regarding the creature's existence. Much like our previous whale discussed, critics argue that if such a distinctive and large species were real, it likely would have been encountered and documented by modern commercial whalers. Theories about the high-finned sperm whale's existence include the possibility of genetic mutations within the general sperm whale population. Other theories include optical illusions. It's difficult to judge the size of things at sea without the proper navigational tools, leading to misidentifications. Anyway, in my view, if any, quote, high-finned sperm whales have existed, they were genetic anomalies. I'm very open to oceanic cryptids. However, whales present a unique exception to this openness as previously discussed. Whales must come up for air, and when they come up for air, they are prone to being seen by sailors. For a cryptid whale population to exist, they would have to inhabit some of the absolute most remote locations where no shipping vessels or military vessels travel. In my view, the case of the high-finned sperm whale can be comfortably closed at this point. Japan Airlines Flight 350. Japan Airlines Flight 350, a domestic scheduled passenger flight from Fukuoka to Tokyo, experienced a catastrophic incident on February 9, 1982. Operated by Japan Airlines, the flight utilized a McDonnell Douglas DC-8 aircraft. This event resulted in 24 fatalities among the 166 passengers and 8 crew members aboard. The flight commenced from Fukuoka Airport, aiming for Haneda Airport in Tokyo Bay. However, the journey met an unexpected and disastrous end during the aircraft's approach to its destination. Reports highlight a distressing situation in the cockpit. Captain Seiji Katagiri, age 35, initiated the descent phase by disengaging the autopilot. He subsequently took actions to deliberately crash-land the plane. Efforts by First Officer Yoshifumi Ishikawa and Flight Engineer Yoshimi Ozaki to regain control of the aircraft proved futile. The DC-8's descent could not be stabilized, resulting in a crash landing in shallow waters just short of the runway. The impact was severe enough to detach the cockpit section from the rest of the fuselage, causing it to come to a halt only after traversing several meters. The aftermath of the crash revealed a very troublesome backstory and a pilot who experienced an unfortunate mental health decline. Captain Katagiri was later found to have paranoid schizophrenia, a condition not detected or properly addressed by medical examinations prior to the incident. This oversight led to significant scrutiny and criticism of Japan Airlines' medical and psychological evaluation processes for their crew members. In light of his medical condition, Katagiri was ruled not guilty by reason of insanity following the incident. After spending numerous years in a forensic psychiatric ward, he has since been released from psychiatric care and is now an entirely free man. I note that while it's known that Katagiri was suffering from a mental health break, the exact reason why he crashed the plane isn't clear. It's important to remember that when someone is acting within the framework of psychosis, they may take actions that seem entirely rational within their psychosis-induced mental framework. That said, there is no suggestion that he actively had any malice towards the people he unfortunately ended up slaying. The Slaying of Betty Conley. This is a recommendation from subscriber Bradley Harrington. I note that despite the horrific nature of this slaying, virtually nothing has been reported on the issue. In the early hours of July 8, 1993, Betty Conley, a 37-year-old store clerk, was found shot to death at the Charlton Extra Mart in Saratoga County, New York. The incident occurred at approximately 3 a.m., during what would have been a typical overnight shift for Conley. Unfortunately, there were no security cameras in operation at the time of this slaying. Compounding this difficulty, There are no known witnesses to this incident whatsoever. The exact circumstances that led to her being found remain an investigative secret, with details scarce. While $100 was stolen from the cash register, robbery is not speculated to be the motive given the paltry sum involved. However, the robbery may have taken place to act as a smokescreen for the true cause of the slaying. Personally, given the horrific and seemingly random nature of this case, I speculate that Betty was likely the victim of a serial slayer who was acting opportunistically. The case is still being actively investigated by the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office, and anyone with information or evidence is encouraged to reach out to the Sheriff's Office immediately. Dwarves. Dwarves are, in modern terminology, hominid cryptids rooted in Germanic folklore, portrayed in a variety of roles ranging from mischievous beings to skilled craftsmen and metalworkers. In folklore, dwarves are depicted in various ways, often depending on the cultural context. For instance, in Germanic and Scandinavian mythology, they are typically seen as dwelling inside mountains or underground. They are also depicted as extremely skilled in metallurgy and crafting magical objects. They generally appear depicted as short men with long beards. Notably, they were believed to live in organized societies with their own kings and tribes, which existed parallel to human society. Norse mythology particularly highlights dwarven craftsmanship, responsible for creating the gods' most cherished artifacts, such as Odin's spear Gungnir and Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Despite their skills and contributions, dwarves were often viewed with a mixture of awe and distrust, attributed to their reclusive nature and association with the supernatural. Dwarves were once frequently sighted in areas formerly practicing Norse religion, even centuries after Christianization. While the belief in the old gods may have waned and virtually disappeared, folk beliefs in creatures such as dwarves continued onwards. Also, it almost goes without saying that J.R.R. Tolkien introduced dwarves into the canon of modern fantasy literature, and their influence has only spread from there. The Ship of Theseus. The Ship of Theseus is an ancient Greek paradox originating from the mythological story of the Greek hero of the same name. The paradox is presented as a hypothetical scenario. Imagine a ship, known as the Ship of Theseus, which over time has every single one of its parts replaced. The central question then arises: after all the original parts have been replaced, is it still the same ship, or has it become something entirely new? This thought experiment, rooted in ancient philosophy, challenges our understanding of what it means for something to remain the same, despite undergoing complete material change. Philosophers have attempted to navigate this puzzle through various approaches. One popular resolution suggests that while the material composition of an object like the ship may change, the structure is what defines the object, and thus it remains the same. Additionally, cognitive science approaches the paradox from the perspective of human perception. This approach considers the Ship of Theseus not as a tangible entity, but as an organizational structure perceived with continuity through time. Moreover, the paradox has been illustrated in everyday examples to make its implications more relatable. Examples include the gradual replacement of parts in a car, or the evolution of a band's lineup, where despite changes, there remains a thread of continuity based on functionality or collective memory. The Atlas Bear. The Atlas bear was North Africa's only native bear, primarily inhabiting the Atlas Mountains from Morocco to Libya. Adults could reach up to 9 feet in length and weigh between 800 to 1,000 pounds, feeding mostly on roots, fruits, and insects, although they were capable of eating meat. This species is considered extinct, with the last confirmed kill recorded in 1870 in Morocco's Tetuan Mountains. Historically, the Atlas bear's existence as a distinct population was in doubt, with some theories suggesting they were feral European bears brought by the Romans. However, discoveries of ancient bear skeletons, dating back to 7000 BC in Algerian caves, have dispelled such theories, confirming their native presence long before Roman influence. Reports from the Roman era and Arabic literature further affirmed their existence, referring to them as Numidian bears. This is to say that nowhere in the Roman sources or later Arabic sources were the bears speculated to be European immigrants to North Africa. Regarding sightings, while the Atlas bear is officially classified as extinct, there have been anecdotal reports extending into the 20th century. These sightings have often been dismissed as misidentified animals within the bear's historic range. However, a recent claim from 2016 suggested a sighting in the forests in Algeria, sparking debates and speculation about the bear's extinction status. However, my review of the evidence indicates that this, quote, bear sighting was just a hyena. Please pause your video now to look at the, quote, bear on the screen and compare it to brown bears. The muzzle is totally off and the ears are an entirely different shape. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Remember to hit the playlist to see dozens of hours of Unsolved Mysteries content. Also, join up with the community in the Discord. The link is in the description. Shout out to my patrons Kazak Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemous. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Also, to every viewer and listener, I love you a ton, and you make this all possible. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone. Welcome to part 25 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. Also, before we start, I upload content 3 to 5 times per week, so make sure to like and subscribe and hit that sweet notification bell now, so you never miss new content. The Texas Blue Light Cemetery. This is a suggestion from community member Lord Owl. Thanks for this amazing suggestion. The Texas Blue Light Cemetery, officially known as the Hillendal-Egling Cemetery, is an abandoned graveyard located within Bear Creek Pioneers Park in Harris County, Texas. The cemetery has garnered attention and notoriety due to the supposed paranormal phenomena associated with it, particularly the mysterious blue glow reported to emanate from the grave sites at night. The cemetery was originally adjacent to the Bear Creek Methodist Church and served as the final resting place for the early German settlers in Texas. These settlers were pioneers in the region, establishing farms that were instrumental in the settlement and development of the area. The phenomenon giving the cemetery its nickname, the Blue Light, is believed to be caused by the unique composition of the gravestones, which were quarried in Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. The stones contain labradorite, a mineral known for its striking blue sheen, which can cause a glowing effect under certain lighting conditions, such as at specific angles of sunlight or moonlight. Alternative explanations, which are commonly found online, suggest that the actual cause for the blue light is paranormal in nature. These theories suggest that the blue lights observed are the result of some form of paranormal or Fortean phenomena. Further individuals who support this theory cite what I'm about to discuss as further proof for the supernatural nature of the cemetery. The cemetery was abandoned when the Bear Creek Methodist Church relocated at the turn of the 20th century. According to paranormal theorists, the abandonment occurred due to supernatural occurrences at the cemetery However, according to official records, the reason for the move was due to frequent flooding in the area. Further, at some point, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took control of the site and put up a 14-foot fence around it, rendering the cemetery officially inaccessible. The official reason for this is that the site has been subject to vandalism, grave robbing, and destructive, unsanctioned paranormal expeditions. Proponents of the paranormal theory rightfully claim that numerous sites which are subject to these issues aren't subject to the government taking them over and fencing them off. They cite this treatment of the site as proof of the veracity of the sites seen. Also, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any great photographic evidence of the blue lights, with the attached picture being the best evidence. Let me know in the comments whether you support the Labradorite theory or the paranormal theory. Personally, I support the Labradorite theory, but I will admit I find it strange that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has taken over the site. The Ararat Lunatic Asylum Haunting. The Ararat Lunatic Asylum, later known as Airedale Mental Hospital, has a dark and intricate history that has led to its reputation as one of Australia's most haunted locations. Constructed in the 1860s in Ararat, Victoria, the institution was originally designed to house the increasing number of so-called lunatics in the colony. The asylum was a self-contained town within a town, complete with its own market gardens, orchard, vineyard, and livestock. The facility, at its peak, employed over 500 staff and could accommodate around 1,000 patients. The building was viewed as a state-of-the-art facility at the time, with architectural features giving a less prison-style design than previous asylums. Initially, it accommodated not only the criminally insane but also individuals suffering from a range of mental health issues such as postpartum depression, epilepsy, and autism. Despite the variety of conditions treated, the methods employed ranged from neglectful to barbaric, with procedures like electroshock therapy and lobotomy performed en masse. An estimated 13,000 deaths occurred within its walls over its 130-year history, many of which were apparently derived from these barbaric, quote, treatments. The ghost stories of Ararat are as varied and numerous as its past patients, with some former staff being included amongst the ghosts. One of the most notorious spirits is that of Gary Webb, a ghost who physically assaults individuals and tells them to audibly, quote, get out of his room. Another prominent ghost, Nurse Carrie, is said to continue her rounds in the women's wards, with many reporting sightings and sounds associated with her presence. Whether there is any truth to the hauntings depends upon your view of ghosts and ghost stories in general. The power associated with haunted places is very real, even without a paranormal explanation. Mass hysteria can easily be induced in a place known for hauntings, and every unusual noise or flash of light can easily be interpreted as a spirit under these conditions. The Casai Rex. The Casai Rex is a cryptid that has sparked interest and controversy since the first reported sighting in 1932. The tale begins with a plantation owner, John Johansson, observing rhinoceroses while trying to remain concealed. Suddenly, a massive creature, later termed the Casai Rex, reportedly emerged from the underbrush, attacking the rhinoceros. Johansson's servant fled, and Johansson himself fainted. Upon awakening, Johansson found the creature feasting on the rhinoceros. The description and existence of the Casai Rex have fueled much debate. It was initially depicted as a massive, theropod-like dinosaur, leading to speculation about surviving dinosaur species in the Congo region. However, critical analysis and subsequent investigations have cast significant doubt on these accounts. Two infamous photographs associated with the Casai Rex have been exposed as hoaxes. One picture showed what appeared to be a tyrannosaur attacking a rhinoceros, but later investigations debunked this as an artful composition using a statue placed over the animal. Another depicted a creature resembling a large monitor lizard, which aligned with some theories that the Casai Rex might be a previously unidentified species of giant lizard. However, the picture, which you can see on screen right now, may be the most obvious fake in history. Further, there are no reliable historical accounts of John Johansson or his servant actually being real people, though that isn't to say they didn't exist. Despite these revelations that basically every part of the story was faked, the story of the Casai Rex continues to captivate and intrigue. Some speculate about mistaken identity, suggesting the alleged Casai Rex could have been a misidentified or unusually large crocodile. Given the environment of the Congo, a region known for its dense and uncharted jungles, the hypothesis of encountering a massive, unknown animal is not entirely dismissed. However, the consensus amongst even the most die-hard cryptid enthusiasts is that the original Casai Rex sightings was either a misinterpretation or a fabrication. The disappearance of Maisie Ajik and Shannon Alexander. In September 2008, the small community of Kitigan-Zibi, near Maniwaki, Quebec, Canada, was shaken by the disappearance of two Indigenous teenagers. And it's important to mention here that they are Indigenous, as Canada has an extremely significant problem with missing and slain Aboriginal girls and women. Maisie, 16 years old, and Shannon, 17 years old, were last seen in the early hours of September 6, 2008. They were reported missing by their families in the following days, with Maisie reported missing on September 9th and Shannon on September 10th. The initial investigation led to the conclusion that they were last seen together at Shannon Alexander's residence in Maniwaki. The circumstances under which they vanished were peculiar, as they left behind personal items such as their wallets, purses, and medication, leading to significant concern. Initially, the police treated the case as a situation where the teenagers might have run away. This delayed the start of an official search for more than a week, a decision that later became a major point of contention. The delay in the search effort was criticized, as the families and the local community felt that the urgency of the situation was not adequately recognized. In the wake of the lack of immediate action, the community organized its own search parties and even hired a private firm to investigate. A year after their disappearance, the investigation was taken over by Quebec's provincial police force, indicating the seriousness of the case. Despite the passage of time, there have been various efforts to keep the memory of Maisie and Shannon alive and to continue the search for them. In December 2015, police released updated composite sketches to reflect what Maisie and Shannon might look like at that time, aiming to reinvigorate public attention and aid in their identification. In July 2017, a tip prompted a search of a creek located near the reservation where they lived, but this yielded no results. Several leads have also been generated indicating that they may be residing in Ontario, near the Quebec border. However, there has been no confirmation of this. There have been no confirmed sightings of the two since September 2008. If you have any information whatsoever related to this case, please reach out to the Ontario Provincial Police Department or the Quebec Provincial Police with details. The Kappa. The Kappa is a mythical creature with roots deeply embedded in Japanese folklore as well as religion. Characteristically, Kappa are described as reptilian creatures with scaly skin in hues of yellow, green, and blue, sporting a tortoise shell on their backs. Their distinctive feature, a small bowl-like dent on their heads, called the Sara, holds water that is believed to be the source of their magical powers. This element underscores their vulnerability. Without it, they lose their strength and could potentially perish. Yet, if one were to refill the bowl, the Kappa would be bound by gratitude to serve the person until the person who saved it passed away. This led to supposed methods on how to trick a Kappa to spill its dish, allowing one to refill the dish and gain a powerful servant. The Kappa's politeness is one of its most significant weaknesses. If a person bows deeply to a Kappa, cultural etiquette dictates that the Kappa must return the gesture. If the person bows deep enough, this action forces the Kappa to reciprocate, causing the water in its dish to spill, rendering the Kappa powerless and immobilized. Other strategies include challenging it to a physical contest or a game of skill, generally a board game. Beware, though, if this is your approach to a Kappa, as Kappa are extremely skilled sumo wrestlers and also great board gamers. Another interesting way to neutralize a Kappa is to present your rear to it, and as the Kappa approaches, release a barrage of farts directly in its face. Historically, Kappa have been blamed for drownings, as folklore often depicted them luring humans and animals into water with their remarkable wrestling skills previously discussed. Their legend is filled with tales of their thirst for human blood, livers, or a theorized organ called the shirikodama, a ball said to contain the soul, situated within the buttocks. Yes, you heard that right. Kappas feast on what may be a description of the prostate. Despite these dark attributes, Kappa were also known to impart medical knowledge to humans, such as bone setting and the creation of medicinal salves. Transitioning into the Edo period, the portrayal of Kappa underwent significant transformation. Once feared for their deadly nature, Kappa were reimagined in illustrated books as comical or even endearing figures. Further, during this period, Kappa were often portrayed as perverts, generally for comic effect. In modern contexts, Kappa have transcended their ominous origins to become a cultural mascot of sorts. Their image has been sanitized and commercialized. They now feature in manga, commercials, and kids play with kawaii Kappa plushies. This evolution from feared creatures to beloved characters reflects a broader trend of yokai adaptation within Japanese media and pop culture. Further, this also fits the broader human cultural narrative of feared cryptids slowly becoming local mascots for the populations they once supposedly terrorized. Perhaps the most famous examples of this in the West are the Mothman becoming the symbol of Point Pleasant. And one more thing, Kappa are often placed next to dangerous bodies of water to discourage swimming by both children and adults. I've attached a number of signs to this entry, and I highly recommend that if you're only listening to this video, that you look at these Kappa signs now. We clearly need to get some of these signs over in North America. Our no swimming signs just can't compete. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. And if you're not in the Discord yet, remember to join now. We've got an active community of 50 members at this point, and the community is growing daily. Shout out to my patrons Kazak Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemous. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Also to every viewer and listener, I love you a ton, and you make this all possible. Seriously, you're all absolute legends. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.